meantime, I have hit the live button, so we should be showing up on YouTube when YouTube catches up from the latency. But otherwise, welcome everybody to Gab Hominem. We're on for our strangely staggered schedule for this month, but welcome to Gab Hominem. I'm Andrew William, the host. Got my good friend here, Aiden Halakis, the co-host.
Hello, nice to see you guys again.
And this week, we've got some really, really fun guests that I was not quite entirely prepared for, but you know what? I'm not backing down from a challenge. So this week, we have some of the crew from the Lackadaisy short film joining us to talk about the life in sort of a how would I describe it? Professional production, big production, whatever the case. An actual production crew.
Let's call it that. Yeah. Very professional.
So to start, we've got we've got Fable Siegel, the director and also part of the animation team to an extent, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I take on the shots to save on money and also to save my animators from the shots that I will nitpick the most. It's like, no, I'm not putting you through this. Only I can suffer with me on this shot.
Speaking of animators, we've also got Katie Winchester joining us, and I believe from Australia, is it?
Originally, I am living in Canada at the moment.
Oh, okay.
But
that makes things a lot easier time-wise.
It sure does, mate. If we were doing this while I was in Australia, I'd be a bit more tired and grumpy.
Yeah, because it'd be 5 a.m. right now.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
But
no, I live in Vancouver now because the work available for animation is way better up here.
Is Vancouver where a lot of the animation, like entertainment type of stuff, is located for Canada?
I mean, quite a bit, yes.
Quite a bit.
I think it helps that we're in the same time zone as LA, but there's so much. Well, before 2020, there was a lot of physical film going on here. There still is a little bit now, but many big animation studios are up here as well.
All right. I just learned a little something new about that. But then we've also got two of the voice actors of the Lackadaisy short, is it Kovac or Kovac?
It is Kovac. Hello, hi. Sorry, I'm trying to fix this fucking webcam holder that I just broke right before stream.
Oh, jeez.
But hello, yes, hi. I'm
your
Michael
damn
Kovac.
face.
That's how my last name is pronounced. Though I might be pronouncing it wrong. Fun fact, I've heard so many different people with my last name pronounce it completely differently that I'm like, was I raised knowing my last name incorrectly?
Oh,
Have I been pronouncing it wrong my entire life?
Oh, jeez.
That's like
I've heard
Mass.
Kovac. I'm like Kovac. I'm like, what is it? I don't even know. So I just like
mass gaslighting.
yeah. So I literally don't even know. I might be saying my last name completely wrong, but if I'm wrong, I'm gonna die defending that I'm gonna say it wrong anyway. So Kovac. That's how I say it. But yes, hi, Michael Kovac. I voiced Rocky. Hello, he's a very crazy cat.
That's one way to describe it.
Is it even worth trying to defend that as typecasting?
Apparently I'm very chaotic, just like him. So I mean, I guess we're not too far off.
Oh man! And then lastly, we've also got Brad Gareth, one of the other voice actors who is voicing Wick.
Yes, I'm Bradley Gareth. I'm the voice of Sedgwick Sable, otherwise known as Wick. I'm sorry. I had to enjoy the identity crisis. We got to enjoy it right on stream.
Fair enough.
They're like, wait, what if I'm not saying my last name correctly? Damn it.
But yeah, this is going to be an interesting episode for Gab Hominem because technically we had the makings of a production crew when I had Chris Moore and Kennedy Phillips on a few weeks ago, but that was for an audio production or an audio drama production. Whereas this time it's more of a visual medium with an animation going on. And I think this is going to be an interesting one because we have a director, an animator, voices for it. And since this is show that I intend to have that kind of showcases, or rather shows and explains the life in a production crew like this. Um, I think that's kind of where we're going to start with this is, how did all this start with Lackadaisy becoming an actual short film now?
Where to begin? So I assume you are familiar with the comic, just for chat's sake, or future sake rather. Listen, long-running webcomic, created and drawn and written by Tracy J. Butler. She is a fantastic artist and fantastic writer, and she's been doing this for about, geez, it's been like a decade since the comic kicked off. So
Been around.
So yeah, so she contacted me back in like, ooh, sheesh, what was it? 2019. Back in 2019, almost 2 years ago now, and was like, hey, the way those are my birds screaming. Please forgive me. I live on Island of Blar. So she contacted me and was like, hey.
Oh.
I was like, oh yes, because she and I are both DeviantArt refugees, so we know each other's pretty well. And I love that comic. It's one of my favorite web comics of all time. And it's definitely one of the most beautiful web comics I've ever seen. And on a pitch, and we pitched it around to different studios, and they were like, "Oh, this is beautiful, but I don't know about this like not a sitcom adult animation thing." So, I said to some buddies of mine, I was like, I'm pretty sure if we did a Kickstarter, we could get the money for like a pilot easily. And they were like, well, then why not do it? Like, I distinctly remember talking about it with Pendleton Ward. He was my director and the showrunner on Midnight Gospel, where I did some animation for Titmouse, and I was talking to him about what we were working on, and he's like, "Well, if you want to make a cartoon, you don't have to get anybody's permission to do it." Fair. When Pendleton Ward tells you you should just make a cartoon, you probably should. So I got to work on I talked it over with Tracy. I was like, I think we can do this. I think needs and potentially take it into the future, and if nothing else, we have a really cool short that brings a lot of attention to a comic that is very, very, very deserving of the attention. And I got in touch with Spike Trot, who is like, she's like the queen of Kickstarter, basically. Like, she was there from practically day one on that platform, making it work. She built a whole like comic publishing empire off of it. I think she's the biggest comic publisher in Chicago now. Yeah, she knows how to work Kickstarter, and I got in touch with her. Comic convention in Los Angeles. She happened to be there. And I told her about what we were working on. And she practically backed the and she's like, I'm in, let's go. She's like plans instantly. It was like kismet from the get. It was great. That was a day, because I remember coming back home after talking with her, and I was like, holy shit, this is gonna happen. This is gonna actually happen. There's really gonna be, we're really gonna make a cartoon. Oh no. And then shortly after that, we were like, this is gold, we're doing it. I got in touch with Mike, because I was like, we were like, well, we need to get voice actors resources even before the Kickstarter comes out. So Mike was like, I was one of the animators on that project, and obviously he did a role. What was it? Some insect creature. I don't know. Do you remember, Mike?
It might have been I don't know, an ant. I think it was an ant.
I think it was maybe an ant. I don't know.
Or a tick of some kind, something like that.
It was some kind of like multiple-legged creature.
Wait. It was a spider.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, it was basically like the protagonist from So What, I'm a Spider, right? And the
Yeah, the new light novel that's getting an anime. So what? I'm a spider. That's,
Yeah,
that character. Yeah,
same thing.
exactly.
Yeah, same thing. So being coy, Mike played Angel Dust, and I really liked his performance in the short. I thought that he had a lot of suggested like a lot of subtlety, even though like, loud and kind of like chatty and boisterous as the character is. Like there's moments of subtlety, and I was like, I feel like this guy might be able to pull off Rocky. I need someone who can be like off some sincerity at the same time, because that's he's a little bit different. And so I poked Mike. I more or less like tugged on his shirt and was like, Mike, would you like to try out for this cat boy? And
yeah,
he said
when
yes.
we were at the premiere, this is at the premiere party, or no, yeah, this is at like the premiere for Has Been back in October. We were like, you came up to me, you said, "Hi, I have a thing that I want to see if you'd be interested in. Are we mutuals on Twitter? Could I DM you on there?" And I don't know if we were or not, but I did like follow you, I think, if I wasn't already. And you know, you DM'd me and were like, "Here, this is a temporary message until I message you later with more info." Blah blah blah. All I knew was that it was a rum runner thing. I didn't have.
Yeah, I said rum running cats thing, and I had.
Yeah, that's all I knew. That's all I knew, and I had
Yeah.
no idea what it was. When Fable
hook,
did
by
get
the
back to me on it being Lackadaisy, I still had no idea what Lackadaisy was. I'd never read it in my childhood. I'd never really seen anything of it because the communities I was a part of, I wasn't really big into the animation community until like Has Been, when I met a lot of people from there. And so I didn't really know what Lackadaisy was. Ashley, my girlfriend, was very like, "How do you not know what Lackadaisy is?" And
Against the head and was like, "You're trying this fool." So thank
Yeah.
you, Ashley.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of had no say in the matter, but it's
Sure.
Oh man, I think we were talking about it right before we went live. That Michael, you actually have Rose hanging around with you, and it turns out you're actually allergic to cats to an extent.
Yes, I am actually allergic to cats. Not like very badly allergic, but it does cause my sinuses to act up. So I have a naturally nasally voice, so it doesn't really matter. Maybe my voice is naturally nasally because I've never heard it not nasally. I don't know. But yeah, I'm actually allergic to cats. Like if I get a cat scratch, I will break into hives where I got scratched. So yeah, I actually am allergic to cats. I've never let it bother me though. I've just kind of lived with it because I love cats too much. I couldn't imagine not having a cat.
And then on
Do
top
you
of that,
think-
you're voicing a cat.
Exactly, which is very very much like me, I guess.
All right. So I don't want to. So I got. Obviously, I had to get more voice actors over time. Like Mike was. I got in touch with Sung Wong. He somehow said yes. I got in touch with the auditions for Ivy. To Lisa was one of his buddies, and just basically like a VA that ended up like getting more and more other people like kind of on board basically. So it's like through you guys I was able to get like this incredible talent pool, so I'm radically thankful. And I mean that. So yeah, so
real quick, anyone else? Is Fable cutting out for anyone else?
No, Fable's been cutting out for everybody else, I think.
all right, I hear everybody else cut
Yeah.
out a bit. So
I don't know if it's your
refresh.
internet, if it's your noise cancellation, but yeah, you've been like cutting out every maybe 5 or 6 words.
Let me see if I can turn off the noise cancellation in case that is.
Yeah, we could just stay quiet so we don't echo.
refresh as well because it's possible. But so anyway, I'll just we put out notices for more folks, and Brad was one of the people who popped on, and I'm gonna refresh. And Brad, you can while my Discord restarts if you want to describe like seeing the casting call.
Yes. So for context, I had for those of you who aren't aware, he is I I would want to say he's kind of a fixture in the voice acting community on the indie side. He's always been sending out auditions and information ever since he basically got started. And I think I had reached out to him or met him through I forget if it was behind the voice actor casting call club. There's a lot of indie like tiny little voice acting board websites for people looking for voice actors. Well, I had met him through one of those, and then he had sent me an audition for Lackadaisy. Now, I also, much like Mike, I did not know what Lackadaisy was initially. So I looked it over, and I was like, oh, this seems pretty neat. And I actually didn't read for Wick at first. I can't remember the characters I auditioned for. I think it was Zib and maybe Victor.
I think it was Zib, if I can recall. Like, and who else did you get out for like Victor too?
Yeah, I think I tried out for Victor as well. And this is something I'll always be grateful for because generally casting directors don't do this. So I sent in my auditions and they were like, yeah, cool. Could you read for this other character?
Yeah, there was like something about your voice where I was like, this guy has a good voice, and it's not, but I knew what I wanted for Wick's voice, so I was like, let's try this. Hey.
By the way, Fable, I'm so sorry. You're still cutting out like a good bit.
Fucking hell! Oh, I might have to go restart the router.
Oh man.
I was honestly just gonna
Let me go
pretend like,
do
oh
that
yeah,
real
absolutely.
quick. It's gonna take me like 5 minutes to come back though. I'm gonna let you know.
We can come up with something.
Yeah,
to
shoot
talk
the
about.
shit or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll come up with
I'll be
something.
back
That'll
and we
be
can
fun.
talk
We'll
more
be
actual
fine.
shit. Yeah, tell everybody about your favorite cats.
Holy shit, Cricket! What the fuck?
Oh, she
Oh,
just zoom in.
I don't know. No, I don't know if you can hear. She's locked out of this room. It's just Rose and me in here. I have my door closed. I might have to turn my gain up, but she's fucking going nuts outside. She's like screaming, crying, trying to get in here. So Cricket is a disaster. She knows how to literally fucking jump into like a doorknob and like open a door. She will do that. And so she's trying as hard as she can to open my door. But
Oh my God.
the thing is that she can't actually open it. She only knows how to open doors that pull inward. My door, from her position, goes outward, so she can't actually open it. If it were the other way around, though, she'd be able to get in here whenever she wanted.
You have a circus cat.
Yeah, this cat is nuts. She's insane, and she's probably gonna be scratching at my door and ruining the door.
Oh yeah.
No, I kind of get how that is. My cat is a little bit too old to get the zoomies anymore, but he is. Every time it's late at night, everybody's gone to bed. I'm trying to sleep. I can hear him out in the hallway meowing his head off because he's got nobody to bother. Like even last night when I finally got home late from a shift working valet, I get home and I decide, hey, you know what, I'll let him, sleep on my bed with me tonight because I had missed spending time with him. And I wake up this morning, he's licking my hair while standing on my back. I'm like, God damn it, Liam, please. I don't know why. Well, as far as I know, cats do that as like a security type of deal, but oh my God.
This is why I just stick to dogs.
Oh, I love
don't know,
dogs,
man.
but both of mine passed
Dogs are
away.
nice. I've always been more of a cat person myself.
Yeah,
I just-
same.
Yeah.
I have to have a
I
cat.
do feel that though. Cats are a little smaller. They're a lot more like they'll get closer to you, I guess. Well, like a dog is kind of like,
Like people always joke that cats only give a shit about themselves and they like don't actually care. Like you can have cats that are super loving and affectionate though.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah,
it's-
yeah.
The thing with Rose is that she's a brat and she usually likes to be alone, but she has moments where she's a lot more affectionate and those moments are wonderful.
I can imagine. Like that's. I mean, I would imagine that's part of the fun part of owning a cat because oftentimes they're a little less blank than dogs are.
I think
So-
it's more they're
Yeah,
very
dogs
much
are
more
like super
selective.
excitable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cats are much more selective,
Yeah.
where dogs will just run up to anybody and expect pets and treats.
My dog will bark at people and run away, and be very hostile until they pick up something and throw it for him. Then
Aw.
he's instantly their friend.
Also, hello,
Oh,
Tracy.
that's nice.
Yes, only cats understand why cats do any of the thing cats do.
Yes.
Totally understandable. But welcome to the stream, Tracy. Glad to have you here. But yeah, that I love dogs.
I, for one, enjoy the mystery.
Yeah.
Like, dogs are far too easy to comprehend. Cats, you gotta work at it.
Dogs will
It-
love you unconditionally no matter what. Like, whereas
Well,
cats.
do we really deserve that? I don't think so. I reckon
gotta
you
earn
need to earn it.
Whether I deserve it
Yeah,
or
you
not,
gotta
I
earn
made
it.
it.
No, as a fan of, archaeology and of ancient history, I enjoy a good mystery and trying to figure things out. That is why a cat is the pet of choice for myself.
I agree.
Because cats are always such an
You
enigma.
also like word problems in elementary school.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
I
yeah. So you guys have seen auditions, and it's definitely one thing I've noticed after I stepped into the world of voiceover myself is it seems really small from the outside, but once you actually get in there, it's much bigger than it looks. Like everybody.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and somehow it's still just as small as it looks because everybody seems to
It's
know
a
each
tight
other.
knit community.
Oh yeah.
It's a tight knit community is the thing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people know each other, and the thing that I really like about the voice acting community is that more often than not, people are more supportive over each other, and are more willing to help each other out and give each other opportunities, and are a lot less, self-absorbed. Like there's obviously gonna be self-absorbed people in every community, voiceover included, but you can usually smell when you're talking to a person like that, or
Yeah.
you can kind of tell. And the majority of people that you meet are super kind. They just love the craft. They love the people involved. They love the art, and it's one of those communities where it's just easy to make friends.
Very
Yeah,
much so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
I know for a fact that what is it? And I will say just from the outside because this is not to make you blush, Mike, but I do know for a fact ever since because I think we started voice acting around the same time. I think you may have started like a year or two before me, but by the time it was like 2012, maybe 2013, even back then. I would go into, at the time it was Skype groups instead of Discords. But I could go into any group of people, any group of voice actors, and they would all know who he was. Like, even back then, like years before Has-Been,
Jesus.
everybody knew who Mike was. Everybody had nothing but nice things to say.
Oh, well, that's sweet. I appreciate that.
Peachy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I dabbled in voice acting stuff in my like early teenage years and stuff, and made friends on. If you remember this relic, Brad, the VAA.
Oh, yeah, of course. Of course.
Of course, like how could we forget that? It doesn't exist anymore. The VAA was like the big place where a lot of voice actors would like do fan projects, and like a lot of the big names you see in LA right now got their start from like Voice Acting Alliance.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of people did work on Voice Acting Alliance. It is now dead, unfortunately, but I'm glad there's still websites where people can meet other voice actors and do little fun projects and be friends and just kind of work on their abilities, because again, like people might talk poorly about doing fan works, but in the grand scheme of things, I think that they're really good for building a person up and like helping them realize what they like to do, like find their own voice, find their style.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
doing fan dubs and stuff isn't exactly that bad, just so long as you're not really promoting it or like monetizing it.
Oh yeah.
I do
It's like we all
remember.
did that.
I do remember at one point. I think Ashley said she started by making like meme animations or something like that when she got into animation.
There's animation memes, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
That is a little mini rabbit hole that you can just get sucked into on YouTube at some point. You see an animation meme, and then like 2 hours later, you're still watching them, and you
Yep.
don't know why you're still watching them.
It's
Can't
why I blame Mason for introducing me to the what was it, the farther kids or whatever the hell it was, that
Was
Palpatine
that
animation.
a Fable screaming in the woods?
I hear Fable. Are you back? Hello.
Be back. Let's see if that
Yay.
Oh.
Oh, of course this happened now and today.
I hate
Sports, of
every time
course.
it's a technical issue. It's always at the worst possible time.
That's the law.
That's
This is
Murphy's
how
Law.
things
Murphy's
are
Law.
meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
Murphy's Law's a bitch, but
That's true.
Well, I don't know if the cutouts are bad enough to where we can't, get the gist of it at least.
No, we can understand you still, Fable. It's just like every now and again you'll cut off for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Thanks,
Maybe we
18.
can adjust. Maybe Fable, you say a sentence and then you pause on your own for 2 seconds, and then you say
Oh
another
yeah,
sentence.
yeah, it'd be just
Full of
spectacular if
evil
you just started cutting out
technology.
words and started. Yes, absolutely, and that's why.
Great. Arrangement. I love this arrangement. It just means that there's more air given to you guys. So what I missed. So yeah, Brad, we gave you Wick lines to read, and you fucking nailed it. I was like, I need someone who can sound like a snobby rich bitch that I like.
Rocky isn't rich.
No.
Oh,
Wick-
not at all.
Wick,
He's
though.
he's
Yeah,
literally
no,
like
Rocky is very
he's basically like
He's a gutter punk.
he's in the gutter.
Yeah.
Well, in a suit and tie is what he is.
Full on the only clothes he owns, for
Yeah.
sure, though.
Yeah. It's like he has fancier clothes because they're like, you can't go on stage looking like that, and that's why he has anything better.
This is
Ridiculous like clown get up.
that's actually
Yeah,
that's sort of a part of my my valet job is we have like different uniforms almost depending on the season. So like winter we have black slacks and a white button-up shirt with a little black bow tie, but then it comes to spring, black slacks and this black polo. But then you hit summer, you got to wear these khaki shorts. And I was working last night. I show up in the slacks and the polo, but apparently we're still on the winter uniform because I was told otherwise for, one shift. And so we're looking at each other like, is that how we're supposed to look? No, this is how we're supposed to look. And that kind of makes me think of that, but on the more 1% scale. But yeah, we were discussing while Fable was trying to figure out her internet that the voice acting community is very tight knit, and that Michael brought up that the voiceover community is very supportive of each other. And one other thing that I noticed is that it's also very supportive of other like artists and creators, like independent artists, animators. It could be, like a 3D modeler,
Oh, yeah.
as Newt does. So I'm actually kind of curious as to how much of that played into Katie becoming a part of the becoming a part of the crew.
Oh, I mean, Kate is, she's one of the animators, but like, once the Kickstarter was done, basically, like, I gathered all the voice actors beforehand, but that came afterwards. Once I knew what the budget was, I knew, like, how many people we could hire and like, what the rate was going to be and all of that. So I put out the call. Actually had done this. She did a quirky thing where she submitted her demo reel, and at the front of it actually had drawn basically like a Lackadaisy cat version of herself going like, "Hi there, I'm here for the job." And I was like, "Oh, that's cheeky." Really well done though. Yeah.
That's a flex. That is absolutely.
Yeah,
a
it was a flex, and I was like, very. I think a couple other people had tried something like that, but Katie's was the best version of that.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was like, yo, okay, all right, I get you. And Katie's been a delight. Like she's actually done a lot of scenes on this short so far. Like she's been very prolific and has great work.
Oh,
And
I'm
just
just
like,
delighted that
yeah.
you gave us the option to ask and pick for the scenes we wanted after each animatic of each act.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that is wonderful because I think most animators know their own strengths, but also
Yeah.
characters like we have our favorites,
Yeah, we do.
and so being able to sort of put our hands up and say, "Oh man, I'm already super keen, but I'd be really, really keen if I could have this scene."
Yeah. It's like I getting to know you guys, like it's like I didn't yet know like where your particular strengths would necessarily lie, because the demo reel gives me a sample of what you can do. But I have no idea like how much passion you had in that particular shot, how quickly it went for you, how smoothly, how much it got like noodled by whoever else you were working with. So just being able to ask you guys, okay, like what kind of shots do you want? Like what characters, what shots do you want? And then trying to get those to you guys. And with every so we broke up handouts into like the different acts basically. So as each act was like firmly edited down, I would I'd break out the scenes and I'd be like, okay, who wants what? And everybody would give me their preferences, and as things went, I could see like what everybody's strengths were, so it was a little easier to like start funneling people into like certain characters or scenes and that kind of thing. And Katie is particularly good at like multiple character interactions, and she hits the model like very, very well. Very, very
Oh, thank
well.
you.
So yeah.
That's
So
nice to
whenever
hear.
So whenever I'm giving you feedback, it's mostly like, oh, change up the timing over here. Like, what if you stagger this? Like, oh, hey, what if the breakdown was like this face instead of this face? So we're able to have like a pretty easy discussion about where to bring the acting, which is pretty good. Like everybody on the project is super talented, but it's interesting to me to figure out like how different people work and how to communicate with them to get them to like the best version of whatever they got, and
Well,
try to do that
I'd like
efficiently
to
too.
butt
Yeah.
in and throw the compliments straight back into your face, Fable, because
No!
Boy, you gotta compliment,
No!
comment everyone.
do it.
Oh boy.
you cannot stop me. So,
Oh no! Inter's kind of. Oh no, guys! Oh no!
Fable, you can't pull that on us. Your internet literally was fine for the past 2 minutes that you've been talking.
it's true.
It didn't break.
This
It
is like
didn't break once.
Murphy's Law right now.
No! What are you talking about? The internet is totally choppy.
Your internet is absolutely fine now. It's perfect, actually.
Well, Fable, it's been nice having you here. I guess the next hour and a half is just going to be us saying nice things about you while you aren't here.
Oh
No!
No, but for real, I've
Watch
worked with
Tracy record all
plenty.
of it, yeah.
I've worked with plenty of clients. I've worked with plenty of directors, and the best ones are always the ones that know what they want. Having multiple rounds of notes is no fun, and that generally only happens. Well, I know what I mean is that generally usually happens in the context of the supervisor or the director just wants to see something before they decide they don't like it. Or they don't quite know what they want.
That.
So having very clear directions always, even if there's a pile of notes, they're always very specific, and that means I know what to do to make Fable happy, and that's great because then we're both happy, and I really appreciate that. I really, really do. I like firm direction.
As I've said before, animators are masochists, so.
I like to be told what to do. I love it.
That's the very on brand for this project. Mike, no. But yeah, no. I mean, I've said that it's like if I had like 5 years, I can maybe animate the entire thing by myself. But I'm not stupid, so that's why I have other people working on the project. Like I have a clear idea in my head of what it's gonna look like, and I have Tracy is there in our work server every day. Like, I sit in voice call. I try to make myself available to anybody who wants to hop in and talk to me. And if they're not in a voice call, then they can always ping me and ask for direction. And I tell everybody my
Shout
full-time
out to
job
Tracy
Shout out to
again,
Tracy.
because
Yeah.
her draw-overs as well are very, very handy. And I'm always amazed at, we animators, we give it our best shot to stick to the model. And sometimes we're a little bit off, but we don't understand how, why it doesn't look that great. And then either Fable or Tracy will do a draw over, and instantly it looks 100 times better. And we're like, shit, that's what we were doing wrong. So that's great for us.
Yeah, I can always relate to your struggle, because it's like until you've like been with the model for that long, you don't know why it's off, because you don't know that it's like, oops, the eye was like too close to the nose or whatever, and like the nose is too big, or like this certain swoop goes more like in this angle. It's like all those little technical details that you just gain over time. So it all becomes easier as you go, but those first like couple scenes are really hard, especially when you get a new model. So
yeah.
I break down my notes process whenever an animator presents a scene into like 3 different pieces, like of notes I will give depending on what I need to say. I'll give a typed note if it's something that like I could just describe in like a sentence or 2. I will give a drawn note if description is not going to cut it. Like it's like there's no like, oh yeah, just shape the eye quite more oval. Is not a very helpful note. And if it's a timing note that is detailed enough that where it's like, I need this acting to shift to like this time basically, and I can't describe that in a couple sentences, I will actually go over the scene and like and animate it myself, like provide keys with like the precise like timing for that. And thankfully very rarely do I have to do that. Usually I can get away with just like a sentence or 2 note, because people are pretty solid, and a draw over also gets us there quite often. But yeah, I try to like always make sure that like whenever I'm giving a note, it's never try again. I try not to make it vague. It's like, if I don't know what I want, then I need to think about it. There's rarely been an occasion where I've been like, I'm not quite sure how to accomplish this, but then I'll tell the animator, could you try this? And I usually, a shot like that, I've given it to someone who I know can do that. So like Mordecai is really tough. He took some experimentation because he doesn't really move like a typical cartoon character. All of our references for his acting are really not other animated characters. It was like its name escapes me. Who's the guy from Kingsman? Who's like cool?
The
Automatically, that is definitely something unique and different as far as animation.
Yeah.
Are you talking about
Yeah.
Are you talking about Eggsy or the guy that was mentoring him?
The guy who was mentoring him.
Oh my God, I forgot his name.
No, because Colin
I'm
Firth
looking it up,
played.
I'm looking it
Colin
up.
Firth played.
Colin Firth, that was
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So I was
Mr.
like,
Darcy?
yes. So
Why
I
didn't
was
you
like,
just say Mr. Darcy immediately? We know who you're talking about.
remember things, dude?
Excuse me.
I spent all night listening to Mike scream in my ear while Sugar Cat just went nutters, and I'm tired, and my cat.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
no,
Colin
Mr.
Firth is-
Darcy.
it was kind of sort of the
Such a good movie.
a little bit of the acting reference for Mordecai, because he's like a really good at being very contained but have this elegance to him. But at the same time, Mordecai is not nearly that cool. So it's like
He thinks he is.
Colin Firth with less charisma. Nah, more. I don't even think Mordecai. Yeah.
There is an army of people on Twitter who would deeply disagree with the lack of charisma statement. They
They just don't know
Mordecai.
Mordecai well enough. It's like he only comes off that cool until like if he gets a chance to open his mouth at all.
I always go back
Yeah.
to the first the first page of Lackadaisy that I've ever been introduced to. But I think it was one of those like little side comics where Rocky was having tea with Mordecai, and apparently Rocky spiked his tea with something so that Mordecai can see
Oh,
all
the
the eldritch
coffee,
knowledge,
yeah.
forbidden stuff. And I'm like, oh, the one term that stands out is when Rocky looks at him and just goes, imbibe. But that's it. I look
We
at
did
that,
a
I'm like,
dub of that one actually.
oh god.
We did a yeah. If you go onto the it's Lackadaisy comic on YouTube. That's the official channel. Please go follow, subscribe, like, leave comments.
Check it
upvote,
out. There's a
etc.,
couple of
etc..
different dubs.
Wow, yeah. Wow.
You just reminded me I have
Lazy
to
Cat
add that
on
page
YouTube.
into the description.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can hear me say imbibe or whatever. It's really it's that one is Lovecrafty, right?
Yeah, Lovecrafty. That was
that's a good one.
I think
My
that was our
favorite.
second upload for
Definitely
the
the
early
best.
content.
My personal favorite is Sophistry, but Lovecrafty's
Huh.
real good.
There was,
Sophistry is like
a-
I swear that's where the waffles versus pancakes fanaticism really came from, because like that comic just is independent of everything is just hilarious.
The answer is
There was-
pancakes.
there was
Yeah.
one,
Hey, that's my solution too. I love pancakes. My favorite.
That's right.
There was one post.
I really am Rocky. Shit.
Mike, you literally dropped like a photo of just like this giant jug of syrup. And you're like,
I
hey
did.
guys, should I get this? And I was like, well, for the bit, I
No.
guess. But
I Ashley didn't let me buy it, by the way.
she's a smart woman.
She told me no.
Aiden,
And I
Yeah.
like it took so much control to not be like, I have my own money I can just buy this with. And she's just like, well, do what you want to do. And I'm like, okay, I won't. I'll be smart. I won't get it.
Oh, baby.
Well, oh, Ashley, how could you? Ashley, for the
No.
bit.
Aiden, remind
For the
me
bit.
to send you the. Remind me to have Newt send you the video that he promised us when we talked with him and Hellboy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I think you would. What were you trying to get, Aiden?
Oh yeah, there was one post on Twitter that I saw that was this little comic, and I don't know who drew it, but it was of Ashley sitting by her computer while over in the PVC and moving blankets booth. It's just imbibe,
Oh, that's-
over and over again.
That was me. I drew that.
I remember
Yeah.
sitting up and like scrolling through Twitter and seeing that and just sitting there for like 5 minutes, just like I was in a Discord call with some of my friends and I was just chuckling sporadically for about 10-15 minutes as it just keeps it's one of those things that keeps like you leave the page but it keeps popping up in your brain, you know, and you like you hear it in your head again.
Oh,
and
I'm
you start,
glad
like,
I've
giggling.
infected you.
Oh, it was quite hilarious. I really
Like,
enjoyed
So-
it.
one of my list of crap.
This will go into another question that I'm gonna have for this because it's like I said, it's the first time this show is having an actual animation production crew on. What is the actual process from pre-production to post-production? What is it like? Everybody sits down and, or the writers rather, sit down, get everything plotted out, and then is it like voices first and animation, and then like redubs or whatever the case, or what's the whole process on that from start to finish?
It goes even before that, like before voices, like you have to have a script, and you have to have the script fairly nailed down. So like one of the big differences between doing a comic versus doing animation is that in a comic, up until the page like goes up, and sometimes even after, if you decide you just want to edit it, you could be changing the dialogue around entirely. Just you could cut it out. You could do all kinds of edits up until like it's actually out, basically. You can't do that in animation. You can't decide like day before that. Oh, hey Mike, come in. We need pickups for everything. If that happened, something bad happened.
Whoa.
Something very, very bad happened. So you can't do that. You have to decide this is the script, and we're gonna stick to it. Once it is done, more or less. So, and what we did is we had the script, and then we had our storyboard artists. So we had a team of 3 people plus me. There was Ashley Green, who is Kilo Monster, also like Ash G Monstrology on Twitter. We had Kelly Turnbull, who is Sela Squid. That's Coela Squid. So like coelacanth, but with squid on the end. And we also had I think he's Ludo Doodles as our other storyboard artists, and they're all like amazing, experienced storyboard artists who did an incredible job. I gave them each an act. So I boarded Act 1. Ashley Green boarded Act 2. Ludo boarded Ludo boarded Act 3, and Kelly Turnbull boarded Act 4. And then I went through and I did revisions after everything was said and done, but I'll get to that. So they did over the course of about 5 to 6 weeks ish. They went through our script, which we had nailed down, and they did the boards. And we want to get those boards done because I wanted to have a reference point for the voice actors, so that when they came in and they did their lines, there were boards for them to look at, so they understood the context of all their performances. It wasn't just reading on the page like what was going on. I actually had roughly edited together those boards into like a very rough animatic for them to look at during recordings.
Is that a
And
common
we
practice?
had them on. Yes and no. Like some productions I've been on, you do the boards and like you receive the script and you do the boards, and there are no voices. There are no voices to go with anything, and like that, the voice actors are just asked to like, provide the lines, and then that's all stitched together. Other times you receive what's called a radio play, where they've already edited together all the voices. So they did they had the script, and then they recorded the voices, and then they give it to the board artists. And generally most of your extremely talky, dialogue heavy cartoons, like let's say like Family Guy, or like BoJack Horseman, or I don't know, Big Mouth, things like that. Were very talky heavy, like Bob's Burgers, very talky heavy, often sitcoms. You'll start with the audio, and then you border with that, because the timing, they've already figured out the timing, and they want the boards to reflect that timing. Now, you as a board artist, you're not responsible for timing, but they want what you draw to work with that, and then all that gets sent off to the animatic editor, and then they stitch that together. So board artists don't make animatics. Animatics are an editor who takes the boards and sound and voices, and all those are rough. Like they're generally not mixed. There's not final sound effects, anything like that. And they stitch it together to see, basically it's like the roughest form of the cartoon, where it's not animated, but it feels sort of animated, and you can kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like. So for the layman, I mean, if you guys are familiar with like those Storytime YouTubers who like,
Yes.
they say a story and there's like a character, and they're in black and white and they're like gesturing and stuff,
think so.
and it's like pretty simple.
Mhm.
That actually is pretty similar to what animatics are like.
Yeah.
So like,
Okay.
if you took that and then you just gave it like an animation budget, be an animation and not a Storytime animatic. But I actually really appreciate that form, because I think that's a really cool way to just kind of like abbreviate, because animatics are pretty readable. Like, deliberately, they are clear, they're legible, they give you an idea of what it's going to be like, and they give you the blueprint of what it will be like.
If
And
I'm
that's
not
basically
mistaken,
yeah.
a lot of them have like arrows and stuff for motion sometimes too, from the ones that I've seen. Like you have
Occasionally, but
you'll have something like that.
yeah, occasionally, but a lot of that is sort of a leftover of when you couldn't just slide characters around digitally. So you needed to indicate stuff with an arrow, or sometimes it's just like to suggest that to the animator who's going to get it, to give them like a little bit more context that this item is being put down right now. It didn't just pop to one place or something like that.
Yeah.
And you
yeah,
might
'cause-
think, oh, but that seems obvious, until like, but the thing is, when you're an animator, you are so hyper involved in that one scene that you will lose context to everything else, and the director's job is to always provide context and make sure it's working in context to everything else. So
Because and frequently in
Mhm.
like normal studio work, you're given a scene to work on, but frequently you don't not given the scenes previous and before, so you are sometimes left without context at all of what's actually going on. So the animatic has to tell you as clearly as possible. I don't know, a ball has entered scene from left, and exactly its trajectory and why it's doing that has to be told to you.
Yeah, so the arrows can help with that because it indicates that there's motion. Here's like the path of the motion. But nowadays we can also just like take the character and like physically move it across the screen to really give context. And oftentimes what we do as board artists is that we'll just like break down the motion. Basically, we'd be like, okay, so if the character is moving, then like we have like these A, B, C shots where like it's, you know, they're walking into the scene. You can see them walk in. But we'll also put in an arrow that says like arrow in. Like it'd be like Ivy in, like indicating that she's walking into the scene. She didn't just like pop there, and how long that might take. So or like character out again, just to make sure that they're not popping off screen or anything like that, or moving too quickly or anything like that.
Right.
So those arrows can suggest that kind of thing, but the whole process has evolved quite a bit over the past 5-10 years. Like even as soon as I left college, like it's just radically transformed. So I left college in 2010, and about that time everything flipped upside down.
I freaking graduated
Like there was a
high
recession.
school in 2010.
Yeah, I know. I graduated.
You baby.
Yeah, your baby, but baby.
Little bitty baby.
I admittedly graduated like middle school in 2009.
Fuck, Brad.
Wait,
Why are we
wait, Brad.
surrounded by
Brad, how old are you?
kindergartners?
When did you graduate high school?
Answer the question,
Good.
Brad.
I cut out. The screams were so loud that there was like a full delay.
Oh, I was
just heard
asking like
everybody yell.
I was asking, what was your graduation year?
I graduated from high school in 2013.
Hey, same year, dude.
Hey.
Wow, I
baby.
feel existentially young.
We're both class of 2013. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
No, I guess
13,
before
huh?
you
2013. I got married in 2012.
Oh God.
Aw.
Oh,
Anyway,
Oh.
moving on.
We're youngins,
I'm
Brad.
just like, oh, the Doom year.
So
oh yeah.
so there's a lot of different ways to go through like the storyboarding and that transition to the animation. What did so my short-term memory is absolutely terrible.
No, I
Um,
got cut off midway through, like of describing the process, so I can keep going if you want.
Well,
But,
sort of, but
yeah.
like, sort of it's like because it seems like there's a lot of ways of doing the storyboarding and the animatics and all that towards the animation, and then getting all of that like touched up and finalized. What was the process you guys decided to go with in terms of your storyboarding and all that into the animation?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, we had the boards. I put together a rough animatic. I gathered the voice actors, like I put them in groups, and so like when they were doing the performances, they were actually acting against each other or with each other against.
Yeah.
They were fighting each other, right?
Yeah. We would
Yeah.
all talk over each other as loudly as possible, and
Yeah. So they're, but they're actually, I mean, they're each recording on their own on their computers. So they're getting we're getting clean recordings, but in a Discord call, they're bouncing off of each other, and getting to get like a genuine performance where it really feels like they're talking to each other, and so just out of context, like just you like say the line and not sure who you're talking to or how it's going to be said, and we would have them like read the line like roughly, like they would do one pass and then another pass, and then we would start to noodle down on notes to get like extra takes and that kind of thing, and like different feels, so that we had more material for when later I would do the final pass of the animatic, where I would stitch together the voices in, see how that was working with the boards we have, and then start changing the boards to better match the performances, but also sometimes to enhance a shot. So it's like, I need this character to like have a different face because this performance is actually this way. I need this character to be a slightly different place in the shot. Sometimes I would just go, we needed like an entirely different scene for this, and so like something would get just chucked and we would add in something else, and that's the revision process. So the revision process goes hand in hand with the edited process. So while you're editing, you're also revising the boards. And then through that, sometimes you realize that you actually need like an entirely different take on something that you didn't anticipate, you didn't get the first time. So you ask the actors to come in for what's called pickups. So they'll come in and they'll do some more lines, and we basically have them for an hour, and they read through what we got, and then the whatever remaining time we have, we make them like just like what, meow into the microphone. I'll be doing something with that. That'll be fun.
Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
had I sent you, I think, like, I don't know, like a minute's worth of just various meows.
I know. I have a fun idea for all of those. That should be delightful. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, so once all that's settled and you have a firm idea of exactly how it's going to be, because that animatic process, that is editing. Like, it's not like in live action where you shoot the footage and then you like cut it up and stitch it back together. In animation, all the editing has to start all the editing has to be done, because time is money, and you cannot, like, you can't ask the animator to like animate several seconds more worth of footage, because that's a lot of energy from them, and you have to pay for that. You have to pay for every second. We don't have our animators on salary where we're paying them per week. I would have loved to do that, but we would need like several $100,000 more dollars before that would have been possible. So we're paying them by the second, and I can't ask them to just tack on extra work that isn't going to go anywhere because of that. It's not an efficient use of their time or the money. You have to have it nailed down.
Sounds like
And
the
then
same.
once the end,
It sounds like the same thing has to be dealt with when it comes to the voice actors as well, because like in union jobs, from what I understand, it's always the the minimum hours, and it's a set rate per hour, or it can vary, I guess, depending on the project. But more hours means more of that time. Where from what I understand, voice actors also have a rather rigorous schedule for like auditions and job recordings and all that. So it's kind of like trying to coordinate a lot of scheduling between each other, between animators, writers, sound designers, and voice actors, and everybody else involved.
You have to be cognizant of everybody's time, and especially right now with like the stress going on from the pandemic. It's you have to be very, very empathetic to everybody's situation. So like, if it all takes longer, then it's gonna have to take longer, because like I can't force people to go faster. Like, they're all dealing with so much. And even if there wasn't a pandemic, I would have to be empathetic to that. But it's just especially poignant right now when you know that people are stressed out. But at the least, like, we were always intended to be a virtual studio. So like, working from home, doing everything through servers and coordinating everything through Discord and that sort of thing. That was already part of the plan. It just became suddenly extremely relevant to world events. We actually ended up in an article in Forbes where they were talking about that. I was just like, like, oh, revolutionizing animation with virtual studio stuff. And I'm like, that wasn't that. I'm just making a cartoon about booze cats. So that caused a bit of an existential crisis for me. But yeah, in animation, there is very little flexibility in terms of what you can do once you are a certain point in the process. All the noodling has to be done in that pre-production phase. Because that's all that I described, that's pre-production. Production is when the animation finally gets going, when the backgrounds finally get going, when the music is finally getting going, when the final edit is going, and that's production, basically. And post-production is when you're like refining what you've received, when you're like doing adjusting animation, and you're like adjusting the compositing. Like, compositing is a big part of it, where you have to take all those elements and you like layer them on top of each other. And we have yet to get to the compositing phase, but we are about to enter it, because now we have quite a bit of animation that's come in. I have more cleanup artists that are going to be coming in as of next week, and I'm going to be just gathering everything up together, and that process is just going to be like the next several months, basically. while at the same time animation is still going on, because that's the other thing, is that you have to like layer all this work on top of each other. So like while edits are happening, then animation has to happen, and sound work has to happen, and cleanup is happening, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And on top of that, we have to like promote the project, so we have to have podcasts, we have to go on interviews, we have to make shit posts online, and we have to post doodles, and et cetera, because the internet is just a world of screaming, and you have to be the person who screams the loudest. And the Kickstarter went off,
I can
right?
scream pretty loud.
You're very good at
Very
screaming,
good.
Mike. We pay him to scream real good. I know exactly how good you are at screaming, because for the past fucking 2 weeks you've been screaming in my ear. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's not even like that. Like
I held back there. My voice is torn from
that
yesterday.
is him holding back. I had him come in for pickups because he moved from an apartment to a house, and I was like, that bit in Act 3, which is involves an awful lot of screaming. I was like, I bet he was holding back. Hey Mike, do a new take.
Oh,
And you
God.
like locked yourself in a car and it, like just screamed your head off in a garage.
Yeah,
What
I didn't have my recording booth yet, so I had to settle for the car. And yeah, I fucking screamed pretty loud. I was
Yeah.
able to go a lot harder because when you're in an apartment with thin walls and like there's a parking lot and everybody can hear you, you're a lot more conscious about what you're doing. And so I'm like,
Kind of don't want to have the cops called on you, and the stuff we were having you do probably would have had the cops called.
Yeah, I tried my best to ignore it, but I still subconsciously was like, I need to keep it slightly down, which is never good,
Yeah.
right?
No.
So when I was able to actually record in a space where I'm like, who cares if like someone kind of hears me? This is our property. So
Yeah.
it's just like, well, let's just go nuts. And it
Yeah.
was a lot of fun. I was definitely drenched in sweat, and I had to take a shower right away.
Yeah. Oh god, no. I drew a picture of that actually.
It was
Where's
very
the
good.
photo? Because I was like, it was very hot. It was hot where I was at.
It was in a
too.
car, and I obviously, because I was in a car inside of a garage, I couldn't have air conditioning while I'm recording. So I was absolutely miserable.
Dave just said I could hear that scream from my room.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Then Dave, why couldn't you hear my screams yesterday? Like, how did you not hear my screams yesterday, which I can't talk about publicly yet?
Oh, good.
Where's that fucking temp photo? I can't find it.
I do like the image of you screaming in your car, particularly because I think any passerby would be like, "Well, that's the third I've seen today."
Right.
There's a lot of angst.
I
and
mean,
screaming going on.
the car is a pretty common place for people to scream like
Uh-huh.
honk honk, come on, honk honk. You know?
Absolutely.
I'm
There we
scared
go.
of my
I found the
road
photo. I
rage.
found the picture. There you go. This is what I drew like after that session, because Mike was like, "All right, I'm gonna go throw myself in the tub." And I was
Yep.
like, "That I need to draw that."
I'll bring it up.
And there's
So
Rocky
I
just
yeah. We had I had a running joke through it. It was like after the events of the short that like he in fact like crashes afterwards, and he's just like, "Okay, I'm done now."
all right, I'm gonna pass out now.
Just too much.
What I miss?
Delightful.
Literally everything was gone for a week.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was like all the sessions were really fun because every single time we had a session with the VAs, you have to match their energy. Like I didn't understand how exhausting it would be until I experienced it for myself, because on my end of production on a lot of projects I've been on, we don't get to interact with the VAs. Like maybe they'll walk into the office. Like probably the most interaction I've had with a VA was when I was working on Midnight Gospel, and the showrunner was also the main character. So whenever Duncan Trussell would walk into the studio and be chatting, I'd be like, "The fuck is?" I was like, "What's the character suddenly behind me all of a sudden?" Because it's just his normal speaking voice. And it would throw me a little bit until I got used to it.
It sounds a little familiar to when I talked with Kennedy
Yeah.
and Chris before. I don't think I got to in the round 2 that I had to go at with them, but I remember asking them, what does the ideal interaction look like between a sound designer and a voice actor? And Chris said, ideally, none. And I'm not sure if that's the same case with animators. I would imagine it's the same case, but I could be wrong.
Oh, well, like between a sound designer and the voice actor, the thing is that the voice actors are, of course, extremely self-conscious about their work, and so like I've had them like come to me like, oh, is there anything I can do to fix my performance, or is like was it bad? I don't know. I was like, maybe I could like tweak the audio. Like, no, that's M's job. Don't do that. Like, no, I'm not paying you to edit the sound. You are fine. We used a take that I liked your performance, and if there's any quirks to the sound that M can't fix, then we'll call you in for pickup. But you guys are fine. Like, you did a great job. Please don't do extra work. But yeah. But I think it's actually important for different ends of the crew to be able to like be aware of what each other are doing, and it's like you got to respect what they're doing. You can't like bump in and be like, oh well, here's my idea, and then give their stuff, because you're not the director. But at the same time, I think it's important to know what other people are up to, so that you're like aware of every step of the process. And because this is a collaborative medium, like oftentimes like that awareness and like that excitement and like the way people talk to each other, that's extremely morale boosting, and it like encourages you to keep going. And it's really cool to, as an animator, get to interact with like the other half of the performance, because the animator is also a performer.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing the person on the other end can be helpful as like kind of getting an idea of like maybe what they were going for, even understanding like the subtleties of how they work. But as a voice actor also, oftentimes they're like so disconnected from like everything else after what they do that they don't see what they do until it's up on TV. Like
Which is why it's nice working on like more independent productions like this, because with more indie projects where there's not like a lot of studio overhead, we're more free to kind of interact and have like a general work Discord server as well, where everybody's kind of involved, and everybody can see the other departments of the animation process, right? Like, so you can see the boards being made. You can see, because we actually got to see the boards while we were voice acting, which you don't really, which sometimes you get to see, sometimes you don't. So like we had boards to actually reference when we were recording, which was very convenient for us, because we could see if a character is startled or if they're supposed to have like a certain expression. We can be like, okay, so we know how to like voice that expression, because we can see, oh, they're distraught, so let's sound distraught here. So it's like you have that to guide you a little bit, which some actors like, some don't. Some like being a little more free to do what they want, but I think it's good knowing exactly what the intention is.
Yes.
Yes,
and
I agree.
very, very useful. And again, like just being in a Discord server, like you get to see the fruits of your labor kind of as they develop. You see your voice attached to a board versus you see it attached to a rough animation, then a cleaned animation, then a composited animation. It's really fucking cool.
So I've got a question about that. Because all our voice actors, everyone who's been working on the production, is in the same Discord group. So you've been able to see animations as they come in, right? Have you been checking those?
Yep. I have. I've been checking them.
Cool. Because we never, in a normal studio setting, don't interact with the voice actor and never really know what they think about what we've done.
Yeah, I don't really pop in much, but I always do see what's happening. Like, I'll check every now and again, especially if there's like an mention in the server. For instance, Fable tagged me and was like, "Hey, check out your boy." When there was like a little bit of animation they had done for a certain scene, they just did some more animation for last night, and very, very good. I'm very excited for everyone to get to see some of that part. Because things get a little wild.
Joker Cappy happening.
Things get a little wild pretty like in the third act of Lackadaisy, so look forward to that.
Mildly wild is nothing. Small,
Wild and
small, tiny
crazy.
things.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Cat's gone wild.
Oh god.
But yeah.
Damn it.
Gone wrong.
I'll
the-
say.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I
Go,
was just
go,
gonna say.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll say also from the independent side of, and I know Mike can speak to this as well. But from the independent side of voiceover, for because a lot of TV voiceover artists tend to be actors, tend to be comedians, tend to be people who have a lot more of a background in doing other things. Where voiceover is sort of a secondary thing. There are obviously people, your Billy West, your John DiMaggio's, anyone who's sort of been established in cartoon voiceover for 20, 30 years. A lot of them aren't as involved in the process, so they obviously they have a lot more work experience on this type of thing, and in a lot of cases, as they said, they don't get a lot of interaction with the animators. From the opposite perspective, from a scene of independent voice acting, which I think a lot of the crew was, it's really encouraging and just incredibly cool to see the animation process work. The most common thing I would say, and Mike, you can disagree with me on this, that's perfectly fine. The most common thing that you see in the independent voiceover world available to you is video games.
It's true.
That's
You're
the
correct.
most available thing, because there's always some game that wants to come out on Steam in a year, that wants to hire actors. And Fable, I'll say this: whenever you say, yeah, before you hire voice actors, you should have a script. And in my head, I'm like, yes. I can't tell you how many times there will be projects that will hire voice actors, and they'll go, yeah, I'm working on the script, and I also need animators, and I also need everything else.
Brad,
Oh,
I've had
oh
to
no.
I've had to actually quit several projects because they they hired me and they're like, great, we'll get back to you when we're ready. And then 3 years will pass and it's still in production, but they don't have anything ready. And it's like, it's been 3 years, dude. You hired me like 3 years ago. And like,
Yes.
sure, like there may be like getting closer, but it's like, I don't know, man. You probably should have waited to hire us until after the scripts were ready.
Yes.
Or until
No.
after, like, you kind of needed stuff for like promotional voiceover or something.
Yes.
Granted, we did hire you before the script was
Which is
done,
fine.
but
Like, no, because
Yeah.
you were doing this is also with Lackadaisy's prelay, which is a lot easier because you need my voice before you can really start. Whereas with video games, voiceover is literally one of the last things.
Yep.
It is one of the last things you do.
Mhm.
Usually
Yeah,
you have most of the game coded and everything. You know what you're doing, and then you get the voiceover in the last like 5 to 7 months of production.
Yeah,
Yes.
you generally that's when you plug in the audio, because a lot of the time, especially on the independent scene, you're not dealing with like character lip flaps or animations. Most of the time, it's just this is an audio clip that'll play as you're like clicking through dialogue, or it's just something that is heard as a character is going through an animation where you can't see their face or their mouth as they're like hitting something on the screen. So it's a completely different side of the process, being able to be like, oh yeah, no, the script is ready, everything looks good, the animation team is all set. So that was truly exciting. It was a big fun part of the process, and it's I mean, from my perspective, because I don't understand art, it's witchcraft. Like the animation process is just magic.
Also, let's be
every
real,
bit
it's
of it.
going by way faster than I ever expected. Like it's
Oh, yeah.
it's going real fast.
I'm shocked by how quickly people are working, considering the state of the world. I think in some ways it's like, well, what else do I have to do? But I also know that like just stress can accumulate, and I totally understand when people are like, I'm just gonna be quiet for a bit. But I like giving people the option on the server. It's like, look, if you need to be a place to hang and like some kind of distraction, like you can at least like look at what's going on here, because there's tons of stuff happening every day. It is moving along at a very quick pace, but the pace can't go any faster than it is. But I hope that's like a reprieve to some of the crew, at least. It's like,
Yeah.
you distract yourself from everything. It's like, go look at our shit posting zone in the work server. It's like basically our water cooler area, and just like look at the various doodles that I throw in there as I'm like, ha, look at this face. So
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that I just from a sort of outside perspective, and this is slightly airing dirty laundry, but I've been pretty open about this. I haven't been in the server too much. Just don't have a lot of time. I was planning to move last year. Then certain things happened over over the course of the year. But we've been preparing to move, and my girlfriend had been laid off from her job.
Ooh.
That happened in August, and it's been about 7 months. So we've been busy trying to get stuff ready. But every time I look into the chat, it's always something fun, something new.
Aw.
They watch movies. They have a lot of fun. They have game nights. It's a really supportive community, and it's really great to see a crew of people that is able to come together both to create such a beautiful product, but also to be really supportive of each other. And even though I'm not in terribly often, it's really encouraging to see, and it's just a really great group of people.
Yeah, it's been great to have you guys around. Like I love chatting with you guys. Like I never expected on this project to like make friends really, and because I was like, yeah, they come in and they do a job, and like it's up to them if they want to stick around or not. But the fact that I have made friends has been just wonderful. Like it's great to get to know all you guys, to not just be able to work with you guys, but also like to get to know who you are. And I
Hell
think
yeah.
if this keeps going, then I think that will make the project even stronger because then I know how to talk to you guys better and like how to speak with you in a way that you can best understand for future performances too. So there's the ice has been broken basically, and then it makes everything go smoother. Because it's not that you can be friends with everybody. I don't chat with like everybody on the crew on the regular. I just try to make myself available to them, like as like, and I'm their boss, so like there's a wall there that where I have to be respectful of everybody because it's like what you say has like a huge amount of impact. And I'm sorry about my rooster. He's decided now is a good time for shout.
I'm used to it by now.
Yeah. But like I really appreciate the time that people have given to me and the amount of interest that they've taken in the project. I really appreciate you guys coming onto this podcast with me because it could have just been me, but I put it out to the crew. I was like, who wants to hop on? And you guys offered, and I'm just really thankful for that because
The thing is, Fable, we love to talk. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Yeah, come on. Me and Mike are voice actors. If we can't talk, we're gonna explode.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need to constantly be talking. Like, what are we supposed to do? We have no other talents otherwise.
I want to throw out the compliments again. Aiming the compliment cannon at Fable.
Damn it.
Oh, yeah, right back at her.
Given us a venue to meet all these people too that I didn't expect to make a bunch of friends out of this. I was just a big fan of Tracy's comic, big fan, and I really wanted to be involved. But then through this project and through your maintenance of a Discord community, that it's for you and you obviously, meeting a bunch of other animators and a bunch of voice actors and a bunch of people I would never have met otherwise, and it's been wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great, and what I'm hoping is that by making the process of making animation clearer to people in general, both within the crew and outside, because I have like a decade of experience working in the animation industry, which gives me a leg up on some indie productions because I have seen like how they arrange things in there. So I know both what works and kind of get the sense of what might not work. It's like, well, we don't really have to do that.
It's definitely part of the
yeah.
it's definitely part of the whole point of this. I think I think I said it at the start of the show is I'm trying to help people understand more of what the whole process really is. So helping people to see what all goes into the work of making a short film like this, which is, I'm guessing, going to be, what, 40, 30, 45 minutes? Estimated?
No, it's going to be like 20, like 20, maybe 23 minutes. I mean, like with credits and everything, it will go a little longer, of course.
Right.
But yeah, it's going to be, let's just call it a 20-minute cartoon. It's 20 minutes short.
Fair enough.
So.
But yeah, it definitely touched into something that I noticed as one of the first ever guests that I had on here was Chris Laporte and Chris Ayers, because this was when I was trying to get more people to take a look at his GoFundMe for his lung transplant. And I remember hearing them say that after they got started on voiceover, it helped them they started seeing people who were trying to get close to them specifically because they were voice actors and they want to try to get into things for themselves, and it makes them appreciate the people who stick around and are trying to be friends. It makes them appreciate them more. And in talking with I don't remember who else it was, but I remember seeing through other podcasts that Michael was in. I see the dynamic between Katie and Fable with Tracy on Fable's Twitch streams, and it's just casual conversations, just like any other friends would have. But that's one thing I start to realize as I kept going with this is that you don't have to make friends with everybody in the team, just like any other job, really. But if a friendship clicks in that team, it clicks, and it actually becomes a friendship.
Yeah, like you don't have to be friends with me to do great work.
No.
Like to do good work, to work well together, we just have to be able to communicate well. Friendship can help that, but it can also hinder it if you're like if you're too shy about like confronting your friend of like, oh, this isn't that great, or you don't want to like upset your friend, but then you're probably not being like a great friend anyway if you're not able to like be like, okay, there's like work mode and then there's friend mode. So like Ash Wagner, who plays Mitzi, she's one of my best friends. She's my roommate. But when she is in pickup sessions and recording, she's one of the voice actors. Like her being like a friend of mine, it in that circumstances, it just means I know what to say to make her like crack up the hardest. But it's job mode then, and then we talk to each other and we associate in the way that's like this is job mode. So you need to be able to do that when you have friends on production, because you have to be clear and blunt to them about like, no, I need this actually, and you can't be afraid to like speak up. But that again, like that's communication. That doesn't matter if they're your friend or not. You need to be good at communication. Clarity is key. Is one of the lasting phrases that I have learned for production. Like I learned that while I was studying storyboarding. I think that is like one of the best things that you can take with you whenever you're when you're working on a production is clarity is key. If you're going to make something obscured or obtuse or opaque, then you better have a reason for it, because that needs to be the exception and not the rule. In all other cases, because this is such a medium that requires so much communication between so many people, unless you're just a team of 2 people and you only need to talk good to each other, you really clarity is very, very, very important. So always when you're doing your writing, when you're doing your boards, when you're doing your animation, when you're in everything, you need to understand that if you don't get across the point clearly, then you're going to make it more difficult for the next person down the line who has to pick up that material and work with it, because now there's a lot more that they need to interpret, and it's going to take them more time. So I'm always thinking about what we can do to make the next person down the line their jobs easier. So it goes beyond just clarity for the sake of the audience. It's clarity for the sake of the production.
Right.
So you have to keep in mind what other people are going to be working with. And then you also need to build in the fact that sometimes stuff is just going to fuck up into your schedule. And what I'm hoping through this process, like what we're doing and how we're presenting it, is I really want to see other people make their own stuff too. And if we can like pull back the curtain a little bit on how it gets made, then other people can make productions too. Our current audience is like, if you're getting inspired by it, you want to make a cartoon, go for it. I mean, please make it small though. Don't go for a 20-minute cartoon that requires like as much money as we gathered on Kickstarter. Go much smaller than that for your first thing. Like even Ashley Nichols, who is one of our lead cleanup artists, and she also is the showrunner, writer, etc., on Farfetched, which she is just kicking off. She launched that project with a tiny short before like going, okay, now we're going to be working on the pilot and we're working on the series and etc. She started with a tiny short, and that's even with as much experience as she has under her belt, because she wanted more. And I highly advise everybody to like start small, just so that you get a sense of like how to piece things together before you go bigger, and then you can go bigger and you start adding minutes onto what you're able to do, because it's really complicated.
Yeah.
But yeah, like what I'm also really hoping for is that other members of the crew get inspired to do their own stuff. So like Ashley's doing her own thing, but she had that plan before this was going on. But I'm really hoping that other members of our crew also get inspired to go and try their own things. Like I was just talking to Val, who's our voice for Zib, last night, and he was showing me a comic that he was working on where he had done some writing, and he had hired someone to like work on pages and that kind of thing. And it's really cool to see someone on the crew like working in a different medium than you know them from. And you want to see more of that, because I love cartoons, and I want to see more cartoons get made by different people, and I want to see what do they have to bring to the table, because it's always really cool. It's cool to feel proud. It's like, that's my friend, or I worked with that person, and look at this awesome stuff they're making. Like, damn, that's impressive. I know that guy. It's really fun.
It does feel really cool
yeah.
to be able to say, oh, that, that little like 2-minute animation looks really cool, and I actually know the guy who did it. I'm really proud of them. And the other thing that's amazing to see is just how many different like creative visions there are out there. Like and that's all just the ones that are able to, put it into that medium. If it's a hand-drawn animation, 3D animation done with Steam Filmmaker, it could just be some very quickly acted out sketch they did on their iPhone. It could be whatever the case, but it could still be entertaining, and it shows just what kind of a creative mindset they have. But then you start to wonder, how many more like unique visions are there of people that don't have the ability to put it out, or just don't want to?
Yeah. It's like how many people are limited by access to technology or manpower or money or time. And nowadays, like, it's much easier to do that than it used to be, but it's still really, really difficult. And my feeling is that in order to make this happen, like, we need to start, find a crew, like start assembling people, like find people who you can work with to make the cool stuff, because you're going to have it might not be easy, but you might at least make something interesting if you're able to like work together with people rather than just worrying about what you on your own can do, because it's hard, and it's a lot easier when you have multiple hands on it. I mean, we're humans. This is what we're good at. We're good at like coming together to make something cool, and we're storytellers. And I want to see more stories out there, because I think that is, heard art described as the empathy engine. And I think that's a really good description of what we do.
That's really good.
The empathy engine. More empathy for chaotic cat boys, I guess, but but it's also a really fun way to like learn about like the 1920s and seeing it from a perspective that's not just like really dour and everything's dramatic and only ever black and white and blah, 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 because the way we frame history is often so fucking dry that this is a fun way to kind of get into it.
Yeah.
Understanding these are just people,
One of my favorite little, I don't know if it's really a deviation or spinoff from Lackadaisy, but I remember seeing Kaz, little bits of her little project of like cats in the 50s. I'm not sure if that came before or after Lackadaisy, but it still looks really nice to look at.
I mean, I definitely know. Like, she's buddies with us. Like, she was been buddies with Newt and Tracy for a while, and she's continuing to noodle that project and work on it. And I mean, certainly she is probably inspired in some part, but like a lot of what she's doing is like her personal interest, like what she wants to indulge in, those kind of stories that she wants to tell.
Right.
And you can do that, and like comics are a great medium for that kind of thing, because you can start a comic like on your own. You can write a book, you can start a comic. It's the threshold for doing these things is much, much lower than what we're doing for this project. And you never know what will come of it, but if nothing else, like, you just have a cool little story that you get to share, and it informs and impacts people in some way down the line. But yeah, so I'm just really excited to see what you guys will be doing. Like, have you guys been inspired to do anything? Like, what kind of things would you like to do in the future personally? Like, Brad, what do you have any ideas for projects that you would love to do?
Oh yeah. Well, I actually have a story specifically on project management that is about how not to do that.
It sounds like a dark comedy. Please tell.
The joke that I always tell is that both of our dads died and were killed by the production. Basically, oh man, this is it's screwed. I can tell this story. Why not? So, for context, whenever I started doing voiceover, I'm sorry if this is a little long-winded.
We want you to allow you the chance to talk. I've been very chatty, so please talk.
All right. This story actually starts on the VAA, which Kovacs had brought up. So I had met a lot of my friends that I hang out with recreationally on VAA. They're a group of people that I had met through that. I think Kovacs knows, obviously, Jack.
Yeah, I know a lot of those people.
Yeah, Jack, Will, Eric, Cam, all those guys. The first job that I won't be shy about, I can talk about this here. The first job that I had ever gotten that was like a professional thing where I was like, oh yeah, this is a thing that people could know me for that is a video game. Was a video game called Seduce Me. Now,
Oh, no.
It is not a porn game. It sounds like a porn game. We were asked.
It's
would you
not
be
a
will-
porn game?
It's
I
not.
thought it was.
No. We were asked. The whole crew was asked. Would it be okay if we made it a porn game? And I think everyone outside of Alejandro and Alejandro Saab, who is now in a lot of different things, I think he said yes, and the rest of us said no. So keep that in mind.
We get some awkward noises during recordings that do make me laugh. However, you guys didn't agree to have not safe for work material used on that. It's like you could always be paid to do that, but don't
Yes.
like take
No,
someone's
as voice
recording and
actors, we're
turn it into
constantly
that.
making noises that sound really inappropriate out of context, and it's
Yeah.
funny. It's funny to like joke about it.
Oh,
but
God,
yeah, obviously, like without their consent, probably not
Yeah,
the
no,
best
that's-
idea
Yeah,
to
no,
use
no.
that
That's a
audio
nightmare.
like that.
Do
No,
not want
no.
it's not appropriate. So don't do that kind of thing without people's permission.
Yeah, I'll
You
do
could
that.
pay them to do that. They might be open to it, but don't do it without their
A
permission.
lot of
Yeah,
voice actors do
absolutely.
NSFW stuff, but yeah, go on, Brad.
Yeah, no problem. Michaela was good about it. Michaela, who made the game, was cool about not taking our stuff out of context. I had done that, and at the time I was like I think 18. Will was like 17, and he was the person who I worked with on this. A couple of our friends who I will allow to remain anonymous for this part of the story. They were kind of at the time. I don't think they are anymore. They were kind of, shall I say, dude bro-ish about it. They were a little bit annoyed at the prospect of otome games, which is what that's referred to. So an otome game, for those of you unfamiliar, is a specific subgenre of a dating simulator, and that's stuff like Persona. There's like other series, like you can obviously date in like Witcher and crap like that. But those are games that are specifically built around the dating as opposed to a different like other aspect of the story. Otome being specific to you play as a female protagonist and date a bunch of dudes, normally just dating one dude. So they weren't fans of this. So what they had decided to do was create a anti-otome game where at the end, I guess, all the dudes, I think the original concept was just beat up the protagonist. So
Dude, that game exists right now. Actually, someone already made a game kind of like that.
Oh God,
no.
It's called Class of '09. Look it up.
Oh God.
Oh Jesus. I'm disheartened by that. But let's.
I'm sure yours is different in a lot of ways, but it's very simply reminded me of that. So I mean, they're probably different, but
I'm sure they're different, but I hope that it's not the concept, because I was not involved in this, by the way. I was not involved in this. They were mad that I was in the game. This was something that I was not aware of until a little bit later. But Will is working on it because he's 17. He's just like it's dumb crap. And then he's talking with these dudes, and he's like, yeah, you know what? I'm actually gonna make it. And they're like, haha, yeah. They get into like one page of the script, and then they're like, yeah, we're not doing this. So then he approaches me, and I'm like 18 years old. I'm a communication major in college, and I'm like, writing papers about how media is problematic. And then he comes to me and is like, "Hey, would you write this for me?" Because I had been kicking around a bunch of other writing ideas, and I was like, "You know what rabbit hole this is going to go down if you have me write this?" And he was like, "Sure." So cut to about 7 years of production
Oh no.
of like,
Oh no.
so because like the thing, one
Years?
issue was that he was like, "No, I'm gonna do all the art," and I was like, you don't have to do that. We could like get someone for backgrounds." And he was like, "No, I'm gonna do all the art. I'm gonna do all the programming. I'm gonna do all the music."
No. Because even if you can do all those things, it's not going to be the best version. And also, why would you hurt your that's too much pain.
Yeah.
I'm wearing too many hats on this production. That just makes me go. Ooh.
As an artist in music school who's learning to compose music and has been writing music for a long time, I would never, ever want to do both the art and the music on a project
God,
at the
yeah.
same
As
time.
well as the programming and everything else.
That would
Yes.
actually kill my desire to do anything.
If it's like a
creative ever
short
again.
thing, if it's a short form thing that's like, I don't know, a very short project and it's just made for fun, that's one thing. If it's like
That's why I
a
say
broad,
start short, guys.
if it's
Start
like a
small.
broad, like
Yeah.
big idea, then don't do that. Right?
Like,
Yeah,
I
no,
want to
off
do a
the
music
get.
video for myself where I do everything, but then like a short 2 to 3 minute thing. But if I'm gonna like make a full ass game, like no.
Yeah, no, I wrote a because I was a fool and I also didn't really know the scale of work involved. I wrote a 148-page demo script.
Whew.
So because I was just like, yeah, I'm like 19 years old. I'm like, yeah, no, we could do this. This is gonna be huge. I'm like planning like a Kickstarter campaign. I'm going nuts, and I'm like, all right, Will, what do you have done? Because I finished the entire script. I had like the Kickstarter campaign going, and he's like, I have like 4 sprites done. I turn around, like, okay, so he has me. He's like, because I also this is also some backstory stuff. Whenever I was in high school, before I thought about becoming a voice actor, I was actually going to become a composer. I was going to go to college for music theory. I had like I wrote about 30 tracks of music for this project as well, and he was due to write I think about 15 to 30, and he was like, yeah, all right, so we have like 40 to 50 pieces of music for this demo. And it's like, yeah, this will be fine. So we have 40, 50 pieces of music. We have 140 or 150 pages of script. And it's like, oh yeah, I have no idea how much work goes into it. So in the script, I'm like, oh yeah, there's about 37 CGs I need you to make. So, it's just,
This is for a demo.
this is for a demo. This is for a goddamn demo.
Oh.
A character
Anyway.
demo?
Trust me, this is just a demo.
So this demo obviously has not come out.
Oh my god. Hearing this is making me tired.
Again, over the course of production, like I think it was a year in, my father, who I had a very complicated relationship, passed away, which was already a mess. And it was around that time I was like, you know what? Well, I'm going to program the entire game. And I do. I programmed everything into RenP, which is a pretty simplistic programming language. And I'm like, all right, we just need the sprites. And then his dad passed away.
Jesus.
Oh
Oh.
Oh.
And then
That's what the joke was about.
Yes,
I'm going to hell.
The joke is
Oh.
took so
I'm
long.
going to hell.
I don't know.
I
Oh,
laughed at that.
I'm so
I
sorry.
finally-
Oh my god.
Oh,
After a couple years, I was like, the irony, the terrible irony is that my friend Will started over the years, and he's not shy about this. He sort of at least semi came out as like mostly asexual, and he's like, yeah, I'm pretty much homo-romantic. So he now loves otome stuff, and I was like, man, do you want to make this? Because I realized, oh no, the thing that he made this out of hate. He made this from a position of hatred for a thing that he now kind of enjoys. It's like, do you want to make this in 3 years? He's like, no, we're gonna finish it. And then finally, like I think a year or two ago, he's like, I hate this project. just
oh.
so
my God.
so that's after like this got started, by the way, in like 2014. So for one thing, don't make a project out of because you hate something. Don't ever do that. Another thing, don't load up all your responsibilities between 2 people.
Oh,
Just
no.
don't do that. If you have few people, then either commit to the idea that it's going to take a long time. Like I have a webcomic. It's taking me years. It's probably not going to be done inside of a decade. I'm just committed to that fact. It's like this is because that's my own weird quirk. But also consider not doing it by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Because you think that you're gonna make it better. You think you're gonna we'll save money or whatever. It's like no, all you're doing is you're adding time because you physically do not have the time. Anytime on this project that I am doing something other than directing, that's like stacking another job. So like being an animator on the project and being a director means that my work day is basically I wake up, I work, I go to sleep because there is no time. It's like the amount of time that it takes to do the directing job is a certain number of hours per day no matter what. And animation is going to take a certain number of hours per day no matter what. So you are just juggling 2 full-time jobs, which compounds more and more and more the more hats you put on. So just don't do that. And just if you're a perfectionist and you're like, oh well, but I want it to be a certain way, then find someone who matches what you want, or else just accept that it's not going to be exactly what's in your head. But you know what? It'll be different and probably better anyway if you just have someone who's dedicated to that. So don't do that to yourself. You wouldn't do that to somebody else, so don't do it to yourself.
God, I hope not.
Absolutely agree. And the last part of the puzzle that I think also was. I'll say this didn't necessarily contribute to the project falling apart, which incidentally, he sent me all the sprites and he's like, just go nuts, just finish it, finish the demo. We're not going to do any CGs. I'm not going to do any more backgrounds than I already did. Just put out the demo, and I'm still working on that. That's something I've been programming in my spare time. The last part of the puzzle of a don't do this is. This was an Otome game where the idea is to date, and my concept was because being honest, everything that I could have possibly wanted to say or contribute to anything in visual novels by making this was already done and has already been done much more skillfully and to me far more artistically by Doki Doki Literature Club, which came out in and I love that game. That's one of my favorite games. The other thing that was a terrible mistake that also was based on the conception of the game was the fact that we were going to have all our friends who are voice actors be in it, and all the characters in the game are directly based on them.
Oh no.
Don't do that. Don't ever do that.
No, that's a bit cringe.
It's a bad idea.
Just a
Don't do that.
No. It's like actors be acting for a reason. You don't necessarily want it to be about you.
Yeah, exactly. It's we have some cool art. Believe me, they're talking about like, all right, man, let me sit down with you. Who your friends. You're generally aware that your friends are probably going through some stuff and going, hey, how would you feel if we based a route on you where at the end the goal is to make it so that you are incapable of dating the main character for XYZ psychological reason that's an issue with you. Great.
Yeah, no,
great.
It's like too personal. Too personal. You can write characters inspired by someone, but unless you like really deeply dislike someone, you're like fuck that guy in particular. Probably don't actually base something on something like that because it's gonna get awkward.
It's a terrible idea. I'm sharing all this, by the way, as like a cautionary tale. These were a series of bad ideas that me and my friend made as teenagers.
This is valuable information. It's like, look, like you guys be complimenting me on like how the productions run. Understand that I have a lot of failures under my belt.
Yes.
I have a lot of things that haven't gone well, or I've had to put a pause on, and I've fucked up continuously before, and I'm still afraid of fucking up. But I have a lot of people backing me up who I don't think will allow me to fuck up at this point.
That's
been a
really
great
important
manager.
part of becoming successful is having a number of failures under your belt, right? Like if
You're right.
It's not so much having
Completely.
it's not so much having a number of failures. It's whether or not you've learned from those failures.
Knowing,
True.
understanding
Well,
the fail
yeah.
points is very important. Like one of my first industry jobs, I saw how badly a production can go from this is fun to I hate this job just by having the people at the top not give a shit. Like
Yeah.
it's not even the rest of the crew. It's the people at the top just going like, fuck it. And either they're so stressed out that they're lashing out, or they get ahead about them and they decide that a great way to manage people is to browbeat them. And
find that
people in
term?
charge of the studio who just do not give a shit and don't respect anybody below them. It doesn't matter the nature of the project, how fun it is, how cool it is to work with other people, all that filters down. And so like one of the best lessons I ever took away was don't be those people whatever you do.
Yeah.
So like if you're not it's not failing that's important. It's understanding how and why something failed and learning from that, because without that capacity for self-reflection or reflection on anything that you've been on, I mean, you're just going to repeat the same mistakes. And honestly, they're as much as we're espousing, oh yeah, indie's fun, there's also nothing really, there's very little preventing you from like repeating the mistakes that you maybe experienced on other productions.
True.
So like
Yeah.
it's totally like, given the number of projects that fail that are indie that nobody ever sees, and the amount of just shit that can go wrong, most, it's not a perfect world. Like you are actually more vulnerable to those kinds of things because there's less backing you up on everything. There's not like a whole production team with their own schedule and money and PR people like at your back. Like you are more vulnerable, and that gives you flexibility, but you have to be more aware of the problems so that you can avoid them. And there still might be problems, and what there will be problems, frankly. Like stuff will go wrong, and you have to go, okay, how will I solve this problem? Because after you're done with your little panic attack, you still have to solve the problem. It doesn't fix itself.
Right.
And you need the capacity to like look at it with some clarity. You need to know like your own emotional state and how that's going to affect your decision making. And so you have to have the wherewithal to go like, I need to go step back for a bit, take a breather, then come back to this, so that you don't bring that panic with you when you're dealing with those problems, because they might actually be a lot more solvable than you think. And if they're not that solvable, then you're going to have some work ahead of you, but you got to get it done, because like once you get to a certain level, you can't just back away, because there's expectations. So you got to be an adult about it, basically. But that's one reason why, like, one of the encouraging thing that I read was that most directors get their first film, like get that out the door in their 30s. Not before. Like we have this perception, especially with like the way that online works. We see like a bunch of like 15-year-olds drawing amazing, that somehow success needs to happen then or you're no good. But that is a fucking lie. If I were to do this project at like 10 years ago, I'd be falling apart. It'd be a much different project. It would look a lot different. It wouldn't be running as smoothly because I wouldn't know what to look out for. Even with what experience I had, like maybe come out with something interesting, but it just wouldn't be quite the same. The years of experience that I have are serving me on this project, including knowing that when bad things happen, I can deal with it because I have dealt with bad things before. So I have a certain amount of perspective on any issue. I know that like if someone is in a bad mood today, it doesn't mean that everything is done. It means that they're in a bad mood today, and give them a breath. If something breaks, then you can fix it. You can get through it. But when you're younger, you don't know those things. Like everything feels really catastrophic, especially when you care about something very deeply. So age gives you some perspective and like the ability to handle it. So don't worry about being the best and doing your best at like when you're like 22. So what? You have the rest of your life to deal with it. Unless you're terminal and you're gonna die in 2 years, I think you'll be okay. So just try not to get the plague, okay? And take care of yourself and take care of your health, because you're gonna be in that body for a while.
Especially you
So
voice
don't hurt
actors.
yourself. Yeah, you guys have like I'm sitting here and I'll smoke because I'm just like, I want my voice to crack. You guys can't afford that. And as animators, like you have to take care of your hands and your back and stuff. And we're sitting in a chair for like hours and hours and hours each day. And once you get into your work, you're not moving like at all. So you need to like go out of your way to get any kind of motion. You have to exercise and build an ergonomic environment. You got to make it comfortable because you will hurt yourself. And I have.
In a standing desk. Invest in a standing desk is my
Hey, I got one of those.
life.
I got one of those. I'm gonna stand right now.
Invest in your equipment.
Do I have to mute and
for your
stand mine
settee.
up? I'm doing it.
Yes,
I don't know if you can hear, but
I can
Yeah, I
kind
can
of
hear
hear
it
the motor.
now.
the
you
desk
got the
is getting up.
fancy button one. I got
I
the old
have,
crank handle
Oh,
because
no.
I
I'm
work
a
on a workbench. I have a workbench which is cheaper than a standing desk, and then I have an ergotron arm clamped to my Cintiq, so I can
So
stand
good.
up and work on
Yep.
it without spending like how much does a standing desk cost? They're very expensive
Oh, yeah.
because of those.
I spent
motors.
like $350 on this desk. It's not
Yeah,
cheap.
it's not cheap. Workbenches are much cheaper. They can hold a lot of weight. So if you're like, I can't afford that, they're alternatives. Do what I do. Get a workbench, the kind of thing you see in a garage, and then invest in an ergotron arm because Cintiq stands are terrible. Get an ergotron arm, trust me, and invest in a good chair. And try to arrange your monitors in a way that doesn't have you like cranking your neck left or right all the time. Like keep it mostly straight. Look up, not down. There's so many little ergonomic things that I wish that someone had taught me when I was younger that I did not, and I have lost. I hurt my back so bad once that I could not sit down on my chair, and I spent a month on the couch.
Yeah,
Because
I
I was-
specifically have my monitors on like this on this arm, this dual monitor arm
Yes.
that
Yes,
has
those are
my
good
monitors elevated. That way I am looking up whenever I'm looking
Yes.
at even when I'm sitting down, I'm looking up at the monitors, which has been very good for my neck and upper back. It's been
Yeah.
very good.
I used
Yeah,
to
get yeah.
I used to work at an Apple facility over here in my town because I live up in Sacramento, and they have one facility that serves the entirety of like the West Coast and up through like New Mexico, I think towards Texas. But it's like a repair facility and diagnostic facility, and a lot of my time was spent in front of a computer punching in numbers depending on the case, and then I print the label and ship it off. But one of the things that Apple is constantly on your case about all the time is making sure your computer screen is like level, like the top of the screen is basically like level with your eyes or something like that. It's angled so the glare isn't getting into your eyes and making your eyes more exhausted. Always make sure your desk is level or is heightened enough to where your arms are like sitting level and flat. So you're not like reaching up all the time or reaching down too low. Make sure your feet are propped up. There was all kinds of stuff they were going into to make sure your body is healthy.
Yes.
Sitting at a desk for like 8 hours with breaks.
We have this perception in our culture that if you're sitting down, like it's not that big a deal. It's like no, this hurts you. This you're not meant to. We are a savanna animal that is meant to be like jogging every day. You are not built to sit down constantly. Like animators have like they frequently get very out of shape. Like they'll get overweight and they'll hurt themselves. We don't have access to good snacks quite often. I mean, like the studio would like give us like candy or whatever, but we always are saying, like, please, no more candy. We would really like something healthy, but candy is cheap, and so what can you do? You have to like shovel M&Ms in your mouth in order to keep going. And it's like, investment in ergonomics is how you like maintain yourself long term, because you can't make a career out of doing this for 5 years and burning out. Like that's like you can hurt yourself very, very quickly. And if you think that, that's just because you're getting older. No, these problems started for me at age 17, and they've dogged me since then. I have back and shoulder and chronic problems with those. They're very sensitive. I can't play video games anymore without understanding that I won't be able to use my hands afterwards. Like we were playing Phasmophobia and just holding down like the run button was hurting me, so I had to stop after a few rounds.
I like that. I like that shocked gasp I heard from
Yeah.
somebody. So listen up, kids. If you want to play video games in your 30s, take care of your body.
Listen,
it's serious
gamers.
now.
Gamers, you don't want that to happen, do you? You don't want to not be able to play your Fortnites?
Yeah.
You want to say? You
want
want
to
to?
play Fortnite
Get
when you're
those
30?
victory
Then you better
royales.
take care of your hands.
You kids still want to be able to play Otamane games or whatever they are.
You're a Tome's. Yeah.
Well, you only need one hand for that.
True. True.
Wow.
Oh my god. Okay.
We never quite got to a Jello story, but
Oh god.
Oh,
No, don't bring me.
God.
Oh damn it.
the Jelloing was no more Jelloing, no?
No more jelloing.
Okay,
no
so
more of the Jelloing.
so I guess since we're about to hit that 2-hour mark, because I usually try not to go too far past that, and honestly, we talked a lot about the whole process here, and I imagine you guys are still in the process of like getting. You guys are working on the last of Act 3 now, or
No, we are like everything is still being worked on. Like we have most
Okay.
of Act 1 done. We have much of Act 2 done. Act 3 I think might be like halfway or more done. This is rough animation, by the way. I'm talking about Act 4 has maybe a third of the material coming in. And it's all coming in very quickly because the holidays eat a lot of time.
Right.
So the animators are basically trying to get as much work done inside of March as they can, so that we only have like a few straggler scenes.
All right.
So it's assembling very quickly, and I'm actually going to be bringing on more cleanup crew soon, just to keep up with all the material. But they've been going at a quick clip now because they're pretty familiar with the models, and it's all like
Alright.
I can usually get a scene, like they've been able to get a scene ready within like 2-3 rounds of notes now. It's just mostly like, is this good? Yeah, it's good. Okay, I'll do lighting. And then send it to QC, which is quality control. QC says, sweet. Sagan says, you forgot the buttons again. Then they add the buttons.
Sagan tells me you forgot the whiskers again, and I say, God damn it!
They're always forgetting the whiskers.
every
and
time.
The R on the tie, the buttons, a stripe. Goddamn Rocky and all his tiny details he's always the bitch.
I kick myself every
Sorry!
time.
Fuck you!
I kick myself every time because I paint Warhammer miniatures, and every time, whenever I'm playing a game with them, I'll pick one up when one of the models gets taken off the board, and I look at it again, and I realize, oh crap, I forgot to paint this detail on the on the armor here, and I always kick myself for like. As a model painter, I start to pick up on these little details all the time, and it drives you nuts.
And everybody else is judging you for it for sure. Definitely staring at that table going, oh, he missed a spot.
It's like
We have a few shots that before we implemented QC, because once we started sending some shots to the cleanup, and our other lead cleanup, Zaburbrain, who has this lovely YouTube channel that you guys should check out, all about how to learn Toon Boom, which is great. Definitely go check those out. She was like, hey, like she'd be cleaning up and I'd be like, oh, he's missing his buttons. Oh, he's missing the R on his tie. Oh, like we forgot the whiskers. And she's like, and I'm like, okay, we need to solve this problem. Because I realized pretty quickly this was adding up. So we implemented QC just to like keep cleanup from tearing their hair out. But we still have some shots from pre-QC that Z be doing, and I'm like, sorry, every time she has to touch it. I'm sorry, Z. I love you. You were so patient. Thank you.
When I started voice acting, I've always been hoping for live direction, which I've yet to get. But it's going to be so appreciated because I do my own auditions, and I listen back to them, and I hear those mouth clicks, which I'm sure Michael and Brad both know the pain of hearing
Hey,
those.
everybody recommends green apples. You know what's been my solution to that? Brushing my teeth right before a session. That helps a lot.
I heard Kellen talk about that too, and I was like, I got to start doing that more.
I tried to do
before you
both,
talk.
but that is a recipe for an unhappy face. I just,
Hey,
So-
I
Don't
literally
wanna
did a
brush your
recording
teeth,
session
man.
like 2 days ago, and I had mouth clicks. The thing is, most studios and people working on your audio, like if you're doing something that has like an audio engineer, they know how to get rid of mouth clicks. Like
Yeah.
it's something
Yeah.
that you shouldn't stress about it, honestly.
Yeah,
There-
no,
there's
it's part of
pros
the
on
job.
YouTube for it. Yeah.
Still
Like,
annoying, but
yeah.
yeah.
Having
Oh, yeah.
no, it's annoying, but
Yeah.
like having mouth clicks is natural. Like those will happen, especially
Yeah.
if you're doing something more quiet. You know, there will be little subtle things that will be edited out and fixed in post.
Right.
Yeah.
Also,
It's-
just like
it's,
there's small things that are just a quirk of that
The only
particular
thing-
person, and you don't want to edit it out because it's actually what you want. Is like you don't want a perfect read. You want a read with character.
Right.
If
So
you
you-
have
yeah.
like if you have a take or something where you have a mouth click, that can be fixed. But if you have a take where you've overloaded the microphone, you've clipped, you've peaked, like
Right.
everything's
Yeah.
really
That's
loud.
harder, yeah.
That's a lot
Yeah.
less fixable, especially if you've done a lot of damage.
We had to bring Malcolm back in because he had an audio leak on his headphones.
Ooh.
So when he was doing his scenes with Benny, so Malcolm plays Nicodeme Savoy, and Benny Latham plays Seraphine Savoy, and they are the antagonists of it. But like honestly, you could just as easily flip the story on its head and make them the protagonists. And they were working so good together that they were like cracking up and laughing, and unfortunately we picked up Benny's laughter through Malcolm's microphone, so we had to bring Malcolm back in for pickups because we couldn't edit Benny out.
Yeah.
She was too powerful. She has too much power, and that's because Seraphine is better than everybody.
Oh my god. Okay. All right. So, yeah, I think we touched on a lot of this because there definitely there's still more work to do, but it's I think with a lot of what we learned here, I think it can help us. I guess on one, I'm stumbling over my own words here.
It's okay. It's you get your coffee after this. It's all good, man.
I already had coffee. I better go and get another cup. But
Apparently.
yeah, I think with all this we can start to. I think we can appreciate just how much work goes into productions like this to make a film that we're all gonna enjoy. I would assume by the end of all this.
I
So
hope so. I
yeah,
can't. It's
I
hard
hope
for
we
me to
don't
watch,
hate it. I hope
Yeah,
we
it's
all
hard for me
really
to
like
watch
it.
videos where they talk about this or that shitty cartoon, because now I watch them like, oh no, I hope I don't do that thing that made that cartoon shitty that one internet critic guy said was garbage. I don't want to be the shitty person. I mean, I think it's good, but maybe it's not good actually. Maybe it's garbage, and blah blah blah. It's like you can't go down that path. You have to be. You have to be like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm making a cartoon, fuck yeah, like every day you got to do that because otherwise all the doubt seeps in,
yeah.
and
Yep.
it will overtake you. And oh my god, I've had so many anxiety attacks. You guys don't even know.
So, yeah,
I'm really good at dealing with anxiety attacks, guys. Next
Yeah.
podcast, you guys bring me on. I'll tell you all about my techniques for how to handle when you cannot stand up anymore.
Able to have an anxiety
Oh,
attack
yeah.
on stream as an example.
Well, that'll
Please, no,
Narrating the process.
no,
Nightmare.
that'll definitely
No.
go into the last part for this stream as we get to this closing bit. Is there anything you guys might have as like quick words of advice for people that are listening to do animation, directing, voice acting, whatever the case might be?
I guess, Katie, you want to go first?
Oh, dang.
Yeah. Trying to get the quiet people to talk.
Put her on
No
the spot.
pressure. No
too.
pressure. No pressure.
So this is aimed at people who want to be animators, I suppose.
You know, I don't know how many ends of production you've done. I've done several, but like whatever you want to say, whatever advice you got.
Stick with it. It's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah,
Unless you're in the minority shooting star kind of person, for the vast majority of us, it's going to take a long while to get good at it, and it's going to get a long while to, I don't know, to find yourself in maybe a studio position if that's what you want, or in indie, making your own things. All of that is going to take a bit of patience and a lot of work. So just
It's a
expect that.
craft.
Yeah,
Craft
expect
and
that
crafts.
going in.
Yeah. There's a reason why I call it a craft is because it brings to mind that kind of old school, like that guy who is a blacksmith for like decades, and that's why he can make a sword super good. And as someone who from an early age was considered one of those like, oh yeah, it's fucking, I guess, shooting star or whatever, you're still not good until you get there. You're just not. It took me like I started animating in some capacity by the time I was like 12 or whatever. Like, I was doing stop motion stuff. But I don't feel like I got really comfortable with this medium where like stuff started to really click until like my late 20s, if that. Like it takes a lot of time.
Statement? Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
So
with
just
almost
take your
anything, no
time.
matter what you're doing, it's a craft.
Yeah.
And you know, like music, art, anything you're doing, it's gonna take patience. Even the people who are considered shooting stars, right? It's like they still, if they're gonna be successful, they still work their ass off, and that's something that I think a lot of people overlooked. And they use that magic T word, talent, and they say.
Hey,
And they say,
a lot of it is luck, you know.
A lot of it
it's
is
all,
luck.
It's
Yeah.
actually most of it is luck.
Access
Like
is luck.
having friends that can help you, you know, get referrals to other people, you know, having access to people in general, you know, being able to kind of have your name be known and have people be willing to give you a chance. That because that's what it is, you know, you could be talented. You could be very talented. But if people don't, you know, they haven't worked with you before or they don't like know you very well, they might not be inclined to give you a chance. So it's like,
it's a
you know,
catch-22.
a lot of it is luck, where it's like you can be talented, you can be, you know, completely, you know, new to it, and you don't really know what you're doing. The difference there is knowing people and being able to, you know, have people trust you enough to be able to give you a chance. And that's where I think, like with voice acting in particular, this goes for everything, but with you know, communities, you want to make sure that you're a very, very good person. You're making friends. You're not being a dick. You're being kind. You know, people like you. Because if people like you, that goes a longer way than just being talented. Because if you're a dick and you're talented, people, you might still get work, but people won't be excited to work with you. Versus if you're like super nice and chill and they actually like you. Right.
And by that, it means like just don't make your brain maliciousness. Your brain
Yeah.
should not be maliciousness, because that's not cool. Like, you think that's a good idea. It's like it's like that whole like edgelord period of like, yeah, I'm 19 and pushing buttons. It's not cool for very long, because believe me, if you're like in your 30s and you're still acting like a malicious like 15-year-old, nobody wants to work with you, and the people who do, you probably don't want to work with either. Just saying. So
exactly. I mean, sure, like everybody goes through phases in their life, obviously.
And nobody's
but, like,
perfect, and we all make mistakes and shit, but just don't make your brand.
it's just a matter of growing
yeah.
from like your mistakes and you know, being able to extend like an olive branch and being like, hey dude, I'm sorry. Like if you did something that you regret and you know, you might have like tainted a relationship, like obviously nobody is entitled to forgive you. It's just a matter of, you know, being the bigger person, be like, hey man, I'm sorry. Whether or not they forgive you is up to them. But again, you know, just be a good person. Don't make enemies. You know, make good friends, because having friends goes a longer way.
Make the right kinds of enemies. If your enemies are Nazis, then you're probably doing something
You're
right.
doing something
Yeah.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let
You don't have to get along with everybody, but
I don't get along with that, like that guy that stormed the Capitol that turned out to be a voice actor or whatever.
Yeah, Bob's
Oh my
brother's
God.
voice actor.
Oh God.
Jimmy Pesto stormed the Capitol. Is like, oh, that guy's career is over. Oh shit.
That's the first I've heard of this, and
That's
I'm
the first I've heard of that too.
Oh,
That's
oh
called
no,
a
I saw that. I
choice.
was like, oh no, Jimmy Pesto, no.
Shit.
Love that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll also say the Catch-22. I really will extend this, because you know it's tough for people. I see a lot of, especially for voice actors, you see a lot of. To put it, the meanest way to put it is probably they do be going through it on social media, where you see a lot of posts like, "I'm never gonna get cast." Man, I want to be in this stuff so bad. You know, I'm thinking about quitting. Which, you know, there are some people who post like I'm thinking about quitting like every week with like, you know, the Twitter. I'm gonna uninstall this app, and then they come back an hour later. But it's tough, right? Because I don't know exactly how animation is from like a applying for work perspective, but if it's like anything like voiceover is a constant experience of rejection, of being told.
Yes.
Like 90 to 95, or hell, I'd say especially when you're starting, it's like 99.9% of the time it's rejection.
Yeah, absolutely. You will get rejected, and you won't know why, and they will not tell you that you got rejected even, and you can take it personally. But as someone who, especially right now, coming from the other perspective, we literally don't have time to detail the reasons why you got rejected. It's probably as simple as just you weren't a good fit, by which I mean literally like you're acting either as an animator or a voice actor or whatever you're doing just wouldn't have worked with the style. And even if you think you're capable of doing it, I didn't see it in your material, and then I have no time to spend coaching you through how to make it work when I need to get people hired now. And for you, it might be like, well, it's just 5 minutes. It's like, it's 5 minutes for 500 people.
Yeah.
And I need to do the rest of my job. So it's like, you just have to learn to accept that rejection means you didn't hear back. And that if you're looking for some coaching or mentoring or feedback on what you did, the person hiring is not the person to give that to. To ask that from. Like, maybe they can tell you back, at some point when they do have time, if you're talking to them casually, like, hey, why didn't I get that position? And the answer is probably going to be really mildly just like, there was somebody else who was just better for the position. There were so many voice actors who did an amazing job. Like Brad applied for other characters other than Wick, and he did not get them. And it wasn't because he's not good, obviously. It's that he wasn't them.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
that's it. That's all it really was. But also sometimes maybe you weren't good enough and you got to keep working at it. So you just keep updating your portfolio, keep updating your reel until it has material that does catch somebody's eye. Just keep going, and it takes time. And you don't always have the time, but you got to do what you got to survive while
like
you're
talking
also
about
getting those
overnight
work.
success and everything too, because people they don't like to wait, right? Nobody likes to wait.
No.
Everybody wants to be able to get right into it right off the bat. That's
Yeah.
not always possible, is the thing.
Yeah.
Like for
It's rarely
instance,
possible.
Brad and I have been voice acting for a long time. Like, I know you said that you started a little after me. I technically started doing like fan voice acting things back in like 2007.
Yes,
when
that's
I was
like
like
4 years
when I was
before
like
me.
12 years old. I was like 12 years old, and I was doing little Sonic fan dubs. And I joined like the Voice Acting Alliance in like 2008 or 9, and would audition for little things there. But I didn't take it seriously at the time. But even still, back then, like it took like about 10 years or so, give or take, before I really started to get any kind of footing in anything. So it's like these things take time. You can't rush art is how people like to put it. And obviously setting a time limit for yourself can be destructive, because you'll just tend to have these negative thoughts of like, oh man, I'll never be good enough, which is not true. There's always potential to grow. It's just a matter of allowing yourself the time to allow it to happen.
Right.
Yes. And if you do not feel like you are comfortable with that, like if you feel like, I can't take another email being told like, oh, thank you, which, I'd also recommend casting directors, generally speaking. There's been a lot of back and forth on this. Probably don't need to send those rejection emails.
Usually they
No, like I
don't.
said, I can't. I have no time to send those emails. It's like, if I had the time, then I would love to say sorry you didn't get it. But also, every rejection email opens up the possibility that they're going to reply with well, but why didn't I get the role? And then I have to have a whole conversation, and that's like time I don't have.
But
So
whether or not you get that email like telling you didn't get it, or you just see someone else got it, I mean, this is a field where like and I'll just bring up like a voice actor that I know who is pretty well known for an example for this. Like Aaron Dismuke, who does a lot of work at Funimation. He played Alphonse in the original Full Metal Alchemist. He got that job whenever he was like, I don't know, like 10, 11 years old, something like that. But the reason was he was like, I think he was Justin Cook, who is the voice of Yusuke in Yu Yu Hakusho's like nephew or something. And there's going to be cases like that. Like there's going to be stuff where that happens. And he's a very, very good actor. He did a lot of work to get there. And he got the part because he was already, I think, doing stage acting and other stuff like that. You're going to have to deal with that. You're going to have to deal with in voice acting. I don't think they're gonna bring in like James Earl Jones to like be like, yeah, he did these frames for animating. Like we brought in a celebrity to draw this part because that isn't how it works. But like for voiceover, you're gonna have to deal with like, yes, sometimes people are gonna be hired because they're more experienced than you or they're better known than you. Sometimes they'll bring in a celebrity. There have been stories of like, what was it? There was that one game where like they fired the voice actor to hire a streamer, and then they had to fire the streamer because he couldn't act.
See,
Oh my god.
see,
Wow.
like you guys. So I know we're going over time, but I
Yeah.
just wanted to say that it's like everybody I hired because I thought they could do the work. Like,
Yes.
I was actually not. I know we have some bigger names on this project, but I literally was not aware of just like how big their following was. Like Sung Wong has a massive following. I had no idea. I was just told by Chase. It was like, oh yeah, this guy did like dubs, you know, a long time ago when we were talking about who to get for Mordecai, and she was like, oh yeah, the dubs a long time ago. People really loved his Mordecai and his Rocky. And I was like, oh yeah, what's his YouTube? And she was like, oh this. I was like, okay, Pro ZD. All right, watched it. It's like videos from like 6 years ago. I was like, oh, that's really good. I bet he's even better now. I was shooting him an email, be like, hey, you want to be on a project? He was like, sure. Then I found out what his follower count
Oh
was.
God.
Yeah. And I think that's healthy and good. But on the other hand, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's just you are like I want to really emphasize, Fable, you're a fantastic manager, and I think that that's a great policy to have. But I do think that sometimes as a voice actor, you're going to see something like that, or you're going to see things where it's like a great example is the Ghibli movies. They hire celebrities like you. Like I don't know if what's his name, Christian Bale, who played the Batman in like the mid 2000s. He was pretty big for that. I don't know if he would have been the best actor for Hal, but he is Hal in Howl's Moving Castle. I think he did a fantastic job, but
He did.
you're going to see projects like that. You're going
Brad,
to have to deal with that forever.
Here, I'm posting this also. Like, you'll also get cases where it's like the My Little Pony movie, where the top billed cast is not even the main cast.
Yes,
Yeah.
It's just the
absolutely.
celebrities involved. They don't even have like the top like main actors in the top build. Just all
Yeah.
the celebrities. Like,
Yeah,
There
exactly.
was. I will say though, there was a couple people. There was like one person in particular whose name unfortunately escapes me, who had a bigger following than Sung Wong even, who we did not pick to be on
Yeah.
our short because he didn't fit the role. So it's like I really don't, and I'm trying to see it from the perspective also of the people being hired, because I know that if I had a massive following and I felt like that was the only reason why I got hired, I would feel shitty.
Yes.
It's like I don't want. It's like knowing that you have a following should be secondary to the fact that can you actually do the work, because I don't want you to feel crappy about being on the project and worrying about who might have not gotten on because of your following or whatever. I want you to be assured that you got the part because you deserved it, and that you have the part because there is a job, and I want to talk to you like that, not because you have such and such many followers, and
I appreciate
especially
that.
because
Both
the
because-
power amount you
because-
have is arbitrary sometimes. Just the algorithm favored you one day and it took off.
Exactly. I appreciate that a lot also, because I'm in a unique position where I never expected to kind of have the following I do. Like, I don't really think of myself as being anybody of note. I still am in the mindset of like, oh, I don't really have that many people that know of me, right? So it's like,
Maybe
I
not
don't-
next to Christian Bale, but
well,
in the indie
obviously
animation
not.
community, they know you.
Obviously not.
Yeah.
I just like I've had instances where I've like been offered things, and it just felt like I don't fit this character. Like I don't think that I'd be a good fit. It feels like it's one of those situations where it feels like, people are just coming to you simply because of advertisement, because it's good
Yeah.
good advertising, right? Good promotion to have someone with like a decent follower account, and like nobody likes that. Like it doesn't feel good. Like some people will do it anyway because money, I guess. But
Yeah, you gotta-
it
you
doesn't
gotta
always
eat,
feel
so.
good being like attached to something just for name recognition. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't think I could ever deal with being in something just for name recognition. I'd have to actually really like it.
Right.
I'm so glad this kind of anxiety is not connected to my kind of work hardly at all.
Oh, I
Fair
mean,
enough.
I feel like Ashley has demonstrated though that it's like you can get a certain level of fame from any end of the production, because I mean she was just cleanup. She was like nobody knew what the fuck cleanup was. Like people usually don't know what
I
that
mean,
is.
she turned
Like,
little
yeah.
animation streams into like a podcast that people really liked, and that's
Yeah.
That's kind of the big thing, though. Is
Yeah,
like she's known
and
more as a personality rather than an actual like artist. Is the thing.
Yeah, and
She does
that
great
that
work,
spawned
though.
memes
Yeah.
that have invaded other Twitch streams. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
She does good work though. Like
Oh, yeah.
I hired her as lead cleanup because she does a good job, and she did a lot of she did a ton of help on developing like how we were going to approach the project getting built, like what that final look would be, and I'm really grateful to her for her perspective on that. She's so busy right now, but I'm happy for that because I want to see what she does. Because
Yes.
I think her creative output is amazing. Like, and her podcast is really fun and all, but like, fucking love art.
Yes.
Just-
So yeah.
I'll say for every Fable out there, because Fable, I think you're incredible. I think that there is probably going to be a director who, even charitably, they're hard up for the project is hard up for cash. Getting money on Kickstarter for a project is hard if you don't have a name. So they're like, well, if I get a voice actor who who people know.
No,
that'll be-
I very much understand the perspective because it's like you need to hustle however you can. And I won't lie, like there has definitely been a benefit to the project for having like the few big names that we have. Like it has been a benefit. And so even though like I hired you because you could do the job, I am grateful at the same time that you guys have used your platforms to help like bring attention to the project. I am very thankful for that.
it's fringe benefit.
It's a fringe benefit, and I do know whenever you guys add your the comic dubs in particular, I've noticed when you guys do add those to your playlists, there is a bit of a bump on the view count. Like people are you do have followers who check out your stuff and they look at it because they like your work and so they want to see the next thing you're on, and it does affect the numbers. So it's but at the same time, like I'm happy to say that the numbers have been doing well even before you guys do that now. So it's sustaining itself because I never want you guys to feel pressured like your job is also to be like the marketing arm of things, because it's not. So that's why I'm like, thank you for being on this podcast with me. Like you guys don't have to be here. Like this is my obligation, but you guys coming on and talking and discussing your perspective, I love listening to you. I love that you can share what you're doing with folks. I love whenever you guys like pop on to the Lacka chats and fool around. Like it's really fun. And so I am just extremely grateful, and I feel frequently very guilty, even just asking. So I try to be very sparing about when I'm like, hey, do you want to come on? Because I don't want you guys to feel pressured, because we can handle it on our own. But it is a lot of fun having you guys on, because you're all such good personalities. Animator, by the way, Katie, you guys are great. The streams, having you guys on, and you chat, like it's fun. It's really fun, and it makes, a lot of folks say, when they pop on my streams, they're like, "Oh my God, it's been 8 hours. You're still going?" And I'm like, "This is a work day for me.
Yeah.
I have a window into it. This is the virtual version of when you went well, Disney used to do this. They don't do it anymore. But you would go to like Disneyland in Florida, and they would have like a big window where you could watch the animators working like they were like gorillas in the zoo. I don't remember as a tiny child getting to see that, and that was really inspirational. And now I just made the virtual equivalent of look at me, I'm the girl behind the class, throwing my shit at the screen and going, "There, it's art."
Well,
As a person who's co-hosting this thing, and I apologize for interrupting, but
we're getting late.
yeah,
it's all good. No problem.
Yeah.
My personal dream as both a teacher and as a co-host at the same time is to make myself as irrelevant as possible, because the people, yeah, sure, we're facilitating for the most part, but when you have guests who come on and who can really take off and talk and just start giving that really, honestly pretty educational and fun information that all of you guys have fed into, it's like a dream. It's like as a person who teaches young people how to play like drums, like if I can sit back and I can be there to help, right? To be there to help facilitate a little bit, but to just watch somebody learn something, or to watch somebody, in this case, kind of teach something without me having to like constantly come in and ask a question or constantly come in and be like this. This was almost one of the more fun streams for me, because I didn't have to talk that much. Now I love
the
talking,
challenge is what not to say. Like we could literally talk for days and have.
Right.
Yeah.
If only we
Like,
had that much time.
Yeah, so I'm excited because I was just like, yeah, I get to chat with Brad. I haven't chatted with Brad in a while, and like Mike is always has weird hours, so like he'll like pop on at like
I would
10
imagine.
p.m.
I've been awake since 3 in the morning.
Michael, what the
Like,
hell?
why?
My sleep schedule's
What,
really
man?
weird.
I don't.
Yeah.
I kind of got that idea,
Oh,
but damn, I guess it's a
yeah.
curse in that house. So.
Yeah.
Um,
So when he pops on, it's a treat, and I always love talking to Katie. Like I love chatting with the crew. And I'm happy to
Chat.
share that with people.
And we can see that, and we can also, and we can. I think everybody who is watching now and who will watch this in the future sees that there is a genuine desire in this crew to talk to each other and there's more than just work here, and that makes the work flow a whole lot easier, as you've outlined earlier in the stream.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah. And,
as- yeah, as you
Good
were
management, honestly. That's what that is. That's
as you were saying a few minutes ago, you were incredibly grateful that everybody can take their time to help out with this. And honestly, I have to echo the same sentiment. I'm incredibly grateful to all of you guys for taking the time to join today's podcast.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having
Thank you
us
for
on.
having us.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think
problem.
I definitely learned a lot about the whole process. So,
I'm sorry we're so damn professional. The shenanigans have been kept to a minimum. Brad, pull something out of your ass. What we got? What we got?
Come on.
So put him
I'm
on
sorry,
the
I'm
spot.
spending
Right?
all those nights on that OnlyFans.
Do you want me to scream again?
No, Mike, no. We know what happened last time.
do it. Annoy Dave. Maybe we can annoy
Did
Dave.
you ever fix the hole in your wall? Mike!
He'll scream a hole in his wall.
I'll scream in the hole in my wall.
Scream into the hole in the wall and then quickly seal it so that when you have the next occupants of that house unseal the hole, and instead of finding a hole,
Yeah,
in the
like they
room,
unseal the hole and
back.
just all that comes out is just like a little reverberated
Like a Tom and Jerry cartoon.
You sound like the cockatoo screaming into the cup. Have you guys seen that? The cockatoo screaming into the cup?
I have indeed, and people have been like, "Do birds really do this?" I'm like, "That is such a typical parrot thing." I own a lot of parrots. It's like that's just what they are.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks you guys, all of you, for taking the time to join this. Sorry, this went a little longer than I planned, but hey, this was a lot of fun.
It's our fault. It's what we do. We
all right.
we make it take long.
I'll eventually learn how to manage time a little bit better, because I'll have to ask Michael and Ashley how they manage it.
We don't.
Oh,
No,
great.
they don't bother.
Fantastic. Otherwise, yeah, thank you guys for joining.
And
Thank
I'm
you.
worst.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Keep an eye on the now finally established Gab Hominem Twitter. It's just Gab Hominem, as you see in the title. All announcements
Followed their
for the show.
co-host last night.
Yeah.
All future announcements for the show will be made on that Twitter, so go ahead and follow that if you guys want to see more people who work in entertainment, learn from their experiences. Thinking of getting into the older episodes, tweaking and possibly redubbing myself so that things sound a little bit more clear. So,
Do we do our shout outs for our own shit? Promote our
Sure
shit?
thing.
right now.
Yeah,
Please
yeah.
do.
Okay, so please check out Booth Cats. It's go look at the Booth Cats. It's Lackadaisy Film on Twitter. It's lackadaisy.com if you want to read the comic. LittleDaisyCafe.com is the devlog for the animation specifically. You can find links to those on all those things. Lackadaisy comic on YouTube, or just search Lackadaisy. You will find the channel. It's got a little happy chipper freckle, like a little kitty face. You see the kitty face is that.
send me the links for all of these so I can put them in the description for this video.
Yeah, I'll do that once everybody else starts promoting themselves. I'm Fable Paint on Twitter and pretty much everywhere. My Twitch though is Fable_Paint because some bitch stole my name.
Wow.
Yeah, some
I
bitch.
went there.
But the some bitch is probably I made the account and then forgot about it. And
Katie?
Katie, go ahead.
Yeah, I am Firenoggin on Twitter and Instagram and those sort of things. Actually, probably just those two. Mostly, I'm working on things with NDAs. So, like, my update on what I'm working on or that sort of a thing is slow and always of things that have come out in the past. It's not that exciting. but I have been part of Animal Adventures as well, which is one of Steamforge's D&D lines. They've made miniatures and rule books for dogs and cats as player characters to play in Dungeons and Dragons. And I've occasionally done the illustrations for these dogs and cats in armor. And very soon I'll be putting up those kind of illustrations because the books are coming out and they're being shipped to people right now. So I'll be able to post a lot of cute cats and dogs in armor or in wizard's robes and that sort of thing. So if you like that sort of thing, it'll be on my Twitter and Instagram real soon.
All right.
Nice.
Guess we'll go with Michael next.
Yeah, okay. So if you want to follow me, I only really use Twitter. That's at KOVOX Kovox. As far as things to promote, I'm working on a few things. I'm probably going to keep those on the down low, though. Some of them are NDA, most aren't. But if there's anything I want to promote, I'd like to promote Ashley's upcoming cartoon.
Yeah!
She has a short. She has a short that's out that's like 2 minutes long. The actual show is going to be wildly different than the short.
I animated
that's been
on
released.
it. Yeah.
You did. Yes, you did. It's
animated
very
on it.
good.
It was
It's very
in the middle
good.
of the Kickstarter, and suddenly I was asked to animate for it. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait on that one.
So here, I'll post this in the chat for you. That's my Twitter. So Twitter is at Kovox. As far as the thing to promote, Farfetched. That's by Ashley Nichols and Dave Capdeville. You can find it on Twitter at Farfetched Show. At
They're
Farfetched
kind of a cousin.
Show.
Yeah, they're kind of a cousin production with us because we share a lot of crew in common, and it's fun
Exactly.
also to see some of the has-been folks are working on that as well.
There's
So,
a lot
like,
of really
it's been fun to
talented
chat with
folks in the
Dave.
indie animation scene
Yeah.
working on it. And
I love it when Dave talks about meat.
I don't want
fun,
to spoil too much, but I'm hearing we're gonna get some cool announcements soon. So I look forward
I'm
to
excited
that.
about that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've been harassing those people in the server. I'm like, hey, you bitch! I heard you on TV.
Yeah, you're gonna get some cool announcements pretty soon. So please check out the Farfetched Twitter account, Farfetched Show, FARFETCHEDSHOW. And yeah, that's all I got to promote.
I'll have it in
On to
the
you,
description.
Brad.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. I promoting the terrible demo that'll go.
Are you sure you wanna? How about,
I'll put it out there. It's gonna be something that it's just gonna be a demo basically of like my friend's art and music, which is very good. Even though it came from a place of darkness, he is an incredible artist and an incredible musician.
You'd be surprised what can precipitate what, even if you're not particularly proud of something. Like, people notice. They notice. Some people, they'll notice your skill.
I imagine he'll have incredibly mixed feelings no matter what happens, and that's okay.
Oh yeah, natural. Yeah.
I've been working on like 2 books for like 4 years. Eventually, shout out to those coming out in 2030. In terms of projects that I will promote, I mean, I'll promote my Twitter, which is at @anime_brother, which is a name that came from my sister being on Twitter years before me and referring to me obliquely for years as anime brother. As opposed to my older brother, who she refers to as theater brother. So there's my Twitter.
Now I'm curious about Theater Brother. Like, what is this family now? You got Anime Brother and Theater Brother. What is she, blank sister then? What does she do?
I would call her gamer sister, but I'm pretty sure she would kill me.
Okay, then she's definitely Gamer Sister, ain't she? There you go.
Possibly. She has called me a
You're like,
fake
hey,
geek.
gamer girl. And have her promptly punch you. When you
Keyboard sales
She's 7 years older than me. She would strangle me to death.
Oh, fantastic! Like more material then.
Yes. I'll promote. There's another small animated series that I'm part of. Hold on. I'm trying to find the actual YouTube channel. It's Gargoyle. Gargoyle is a small like action animated series on YouTube. It's very ambitious. I think like one dude is making it, and it's been pretty cool. It's been very cool to be part of. I get to play the main characters, which is between between a cop, and it's a good cop, and a gargoyle. He turns into a giant gargoyle monster and fights demons. So that's
Oh,
cool.
sweet.
I will have
You
all
can find
Looks
these.
incredible.
Yeah, I will have all these posted in the description as soon as we're done here. So,
And then two other games really quick I can promote if it's okay.
go ahead.
Of course.
Another couple games that I'm in that I feel like haven't got a huge amount of attention, but I think should. Quantum Suicide on Steam is a very fun game. If you if you're familiar with the Zero Escape series or Danganronpa series, it's a lot like that.
All right.
It also takes place in space. You're on a spaceship and an AI has decided to kill you. So that's super neat.
So it's kind of sus.
Isn't it always the way?
Uh,
Those darn AI.
And then in the style of me constantly being in romance games, there's Crimson Spire on Steam, which just came out a little while ago. It's one of my favorite things I've ever voiced in. I get to play a serial killer that you can choose to date.
That's epic.
Oh,
That's metal.
Nice.
what was that? Yandere, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Can be.
Could be.
Depends on the serial killer.
Yes.
he's a hell of a guy. Is August here? I'll link both of them in the chat.
All right.
Thank you.
Well,
Oh, look at that sexy anime boy art. That's some anime brother right there.
And then the last thing that that Fable wanted to get shout out was.
Yes. So if you are interested in behind the scenes that isn't even accessible by our devlog, and you want to support the creator of Lackadaisy, shout out to Tracy Butler. She's fucking awesome, and she's an amazing artist, and she is still working on the comic, and she does incredible art also for patrons, and we've been doing private streams, which you can get access to if you donate to her Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
She has various levels, including as low as $1 a month, $2, $5 to get access to various things. You get bonuses on the official Discord. That's called discord.gg/Lackadaisy. Really fun community, very well run. As anybody who's listened to Ark's podcast before can say, like, Newt is the community manager. He's a wicked dude. He's a wicked
Pretty
good dude,
awesome.
and he
Pretty
is
awesome.
yeah, it's a great place. Really chill, good environment.
Mhm.
But
need to
yeah,
show
if
up
you
there more
want
often.
some bonuses, there, being a patron for as little as $1 a month gets you that, and there'll be a private stream today, actually. I think, like, Tracy's doing an art stream, so please go give her your $5. It's like, you could buy a shitty hamburger, or you could give a shitty hamburger to an artist in need. And Tracy, she puts, like, as much money as we have raised on the Kickstarter, Tracy is still putting money into this project, even so. I've told her don't, but she insists. And it, please feed her. She deserves all the support. And you can also, by way of supporting her, you will get access to some private streams of animation that is not yet available to the public and will not be available until the short is out. So you can see some of the Act 3 work that I've been animating. So you can find out what it was that Mike, as Rocky, is screaming about. Yeah. So,
hopefully.
and for just like, what is it, $1-2? Tracy, she's in the chat right now and
Yep.
saying, like, no, I'm trash. You are not trash. We all disagree with you.
How dare!
know we love you,
How
Tracy.
dare you call
Yeah, if
yourself
you-
garbage? I'm gonna beat up this Who is this person calling my friend garbage? I'm gonna beat them up. Yeah.
No,
Well,
go get that $5 and put it directly into Tracy's bank account so you can see the
Please.
rough animation of Rocky singing "Near, far, wherever you are."
Mike, when am I gonna get that rendition of Rocky singing "How Bad Can I Be"?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
You
Hey,
forgot about that, and I'm amazed because you
Holy
fucking love
shit.
your
I forgot
You have to
about
do
that.
that.
Dude, I'll do it. I'll do it right after this meeting I have.
Yeah?
I'll do it.
Oh my God, please!
Right after.
You wanna pop on Tracy's stream later? You can start it on that. Delight
Maybe
people.
we'll see.
Oh
We'll
my
see
God,
what I got
please.
going on.
Bully Tracy, please.
We'll
You know
leave
she
him
loves
to
it.
that, but otherwise, thank you guys.
Patreon.com/Lackadaisy. Please go give her your money. She deserves
deserves the
needs ice
support.
cream.
Make sure I have that link too. But otherwise, yeah, thank you guys all for tuning in to watch it. To watch this this semi-mess of a stream that I have here, but otherwise, thank you guys all for joining in and keeping it from being a total mess.
Thank you guys for
Oh no, it
making
wasn't a
this
total
awesome.
mess. Fuck.